97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City, a Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey.
The opinions expressed are not those of Town Square Media or station advertisers.
Finally!
This is Hanging with Hennig.
I have friends everywhere.
On 97.3 ESPN Radio, South Jersey.
In New Jersey. Am I right? Yeah.
Live feed on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
It seems to run on some form of electricity. Well, you're not wrong.
Streaming live on YouTube, Instagram, and the X platform.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together.
Now, here's your host.
He's not gone. That's the whole point. He's never gone.
Josh Hennig.
It's a Saturday. It's Hanging with Hennig following Billy Schweim in the locker room, and I'm actually in the 97.3 ESPN studio. What is going on? I actually haven't been in the studio on a Saturday to broadcast a show since, I believe it was May 16th. It was the last time I was in the studio. So over a month ago, we're back in the studio. We're taking a break from the road tour that is known as Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank. You see how we are streaming live on YouTube and X in the Dr. Squatch virtual studio. Just follow at Josh Hennig. We got a lot to get to on today's show. Phillies had a day off yesterday. It's a good thing, it's a bad thing. We'll be getting to that throughout the show. Flyers, Sixers, both have their drafts next week. We will get to that as well here on Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN. On top of all of those things, we got some Eagles conversation to get to because this Brendan Sorsby situation is an absolute dumpster fire to me. And so that's why we have the guests we have today. We got to want to get some answers to questions. What is Brandon Sorsby as an NFL prospect? And what are realistic expectations for the Eagles this upcoming season? Well, we got the one and only Emory Hunt from CBS Sports HQ, one of the best football analysts on the planet. He is back. He's been a busy man, but he's kind enough to make some time for us today here on Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN. He's coming up at 12:30. At 1:25, we have our Ivy Rehab Injury Report. Ivy Rehab with over 18 locations around South Jersey, offering best-in-class outpatient physical therapy. And this Christian Pulisic situation is absolutely wild to me. We got to get into, because Team USA, they beat an Australia team they're supposed to beat. Well, now you advance to the knockout round. You're in. So what is a realistic timetable for Pulisic's return? If he wasn't able to play yesterday, when could he be back? And how legitimate is his injury? I don't want to say legitimate. How serious, I think, might be the better term. Plus, we will be talking about Brad Keller's injury as well, because the Phillies gave this guy a stupid amount of money. I mean, crazy oodles amount of money. And he's on the injury list with right forearm tendonitis. I mean, can this team get any more ridiculous? You went from spending all this money in the offseason and saying, oh, we improved the team. And now Keller's hurt. Trey Turner's hurt. Adolis Garcia's done for the year. By the way, Phillies conversation coming up today. Frank Klose from 97.3 ESPN.com. Yours Phillies mailbag every Tuesday with the Sports Bash and Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. And then our final guest of the day is what I'm looking forward to the most, actually, Kevin Durso, our Flyers insider, because Kevin is going to be all over this offseason. You could argue this is the biggest Flyers offseason in 8-10 years, potentially. This is going to be a massive offseason for a lot of opportunity, a lot of change. And they've already started making changes, okay? They made the trade the other day. They got rid of Erson. They replaced him with Wall. So they have a new backup goaltender, at least for now. I still think there's a scenario where they sign somebody in free agency. But the bigger name they got in the deal was Sam Benoit, the big defenseman. And while he's not a top-tier defenseman, he is an obvious body type. Remember, they traded for Jarosik a few months ago. You drafted Oliver Bonk. You're obviously trying to get a certain type of player on the back line. Now, all those players won't matter, though, if you don't strengthen the top line, because then you get the real domino effects. We'll get into all that and more. Flyers, Sixers, both their draft picks next week. And you guys can join the conversation throughout the day. The text board is open at 609-403-0973. As I mentioned, we are live on YouTube and X at Josh Hennig in the Dr. Squatch virtual studio. And I do have to start with the Phillies because the Phillies are just such a frustrating, exasperating team to watch from day to day. Not because I think they're a bad team. Listen, I've heard Dave Dombrowski tell me enough times they're a good club. Okay. I'm well aware that they are a good team. But good is not great. And that's become my overarching frustration with this team. And as time goes on, I feel more and more vindicated that the problem is at the top of the rung. Now, yes, the players deserve a measure of blame, right? For whatever reason, Trey Turner is playing some of the worst baseball of his entire career right now. And it's not just because of the injuries he's had in recent weeks. He's having horrible plate approaches. He's having horrible swings. It's almost like he can't see the ball out of the pitcher's hand, or he's trying to guess and he's guessing wrong. His hitting mechanics are all messed up. Andrew Painter, they put him in a horrible position. I told you guys last week here on Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN, and I'll say it again. He does not have the control necessary to be an effective pitcher right now. Now, Dombrowski said the other day that he actually thinks it's a mechanical issue with Painter. Take a listen.
He's going to throw a couple sides to start off, and then we'll determine when to put him into the actual game. I don't know if it'll be a week or 10 days, but it'll be sometime in that time frame. Most of it's delivery oriented is what it comes down to, because when he's done some things with his delivery, which is going more directly to the plate rather than spinning off, he's had more life. And you see it at times. He threw some pitches yesterday that were outstanding, but not on a consistent basis. So the feel is that when he does that and he gives that effort going forward, his ball's got more movement, he's got more command of his pitches, his split works better at that time too. So that'll be the goal.
Delivery issues, mechanical issues, to which I would say the Phillies did a horrible job evaluating his readiness. That's what really happened here. They did a horrible job at knowing if he was legitimately ready. So you have one player who, for whatever reason, he is making the team look bad. You have the team making a top prospect look like he's an ineffective, useless waste of our time. I don't know what to do about Crawford. I feel like Crawford he's young, he's inexperienced, he's figuring it out as he goes along. It's probably the best way I would try to frame it. But on the flip side, Schwarber's having another great year. Christopher Sanchez having a great year. Zach Wheeler is back. I wouldn't say he's better than ever, but he's back, and he's doing Zach Wheeler things. And frankly, Aaron Nola, the 3 runs that were scored should have been enough for you as an offense to win that game. But then your bullpen imploded. So it's very obvious that the flawed roster construction of this team continues to haunt them. And that's why I say I still go to the president of baseball operations, Dave Dombrowski. Because in a city where Howie Roseman has set the bar so high for front office executives, in a city where Danny Briere and Keith Jones are doing everything humanly possible to build and construct the Flyers in the right way, not the duct tape and bubble gum fix it way, not in the hope for the best scenario. The Flyers are trying to do the slow build, and it might frustrate people long term when it comes to how quickly they become a contender for the cup. The reality is that they're moving in the right direction. And in a city where Daryl Morey showed that he just couldn't get the Sixers roster beyond a certain point, and he was fired, making Mike Gansey now the fourth different basketball executive for this organization in the last decade. Think about that for a minute. 4 different people. I'm not even including the nobody knew who was in charge situation between the Colangelo Burner Gate and the hiring of Daryl Morey. You can call that a 5th person, whoever the shadow council person really in charge was during those years. I know some people like to say it was Elton Brand, but there's a lot of reporting out there that says that it might have been a collective of individuals, we'll call it. So fine. We'll say 5 in the last 12 years. The Sixers are an organization that says, we don't like what you're doing, we're moving on. We don't like you, we're moving on. You're not good enough, we're going to get somebody else. You didn't do enough, we're going to find somebody to replace you. So all the 3 other teams are at least either moving the right direction or saying, you know what, this isn't good enough, we got to make a difference. Dave Dombrowski is still pontificating to us about things that don't matter. And I think, if we're being honest, a lot of questions can be had. Is Dave Dombrowski really in it to win it? I hate even asking that question. And you guys let me know on the text board at 609-403-0973 if I'm being a little extreme. But the signing of Romero last year was a bust. The signing of Max Kepler was a fiasco. You signed Adolis Garcia this year. You gave all that money to Brad Keller this offseason. It was a few years ago that you gave these albatross contracts, people like Trey Turner and Aaron Nola, and now you're stuck with them for years to come as they regress at some point. They're not going to get any better. They're getting older. I don't know about you. As I get older, I feel more and more in my soul the Toby Keith song. I'm not as good as I once was, but I'm as good as once as I'll ever be. That's real as you get older. All right. So I don't have any confidence that Trey Turner or Aaron Nola are going to age gracefully. And to be blunt, I don't know what Bryce Harper's career trajectory is in terms of what he's going to be long term, because the whole point of Bryce Harper playing first base was it was supposed to cut down, number one, on the wear and tear on his body. And number two, after the elbow surgery that he had, there were a lot of concerns that if he kept playing in the outfield, he could re-aggravate the injury potentially. Now, I'm looking around and I'm like, does any of that matter at this point? Does it even matter that Bryce Harper is going to play first base if, one, he's just okay, and two, You have a player at first base that the Phillies won't even have a conversation about moving him off of first base. With Dave Dombrowski was asked about that this week, about the idea of, hey, if you have an opportunity to get someone at the deadline who is a right-handed bat, which his team desperately needs, but they happen to play first base, Dombrowski says it's not even up for conversation. It's not even they considered.
I don't think so. I mean, we haven't talked to him about it. I know he's always been very open-minded to try to help the organization however he can. We haven't talked to him, and I really don't contemplate, because I really like the way he goes about his business at first base. One thing we wouldn't do is keep going back and forth if we ever did that. I mean, I really, but I look at him as being a first baseman.
And I know some people are really mad about that explanation. I'm kind of indifferent because the Phillies have been very consistent on this. Even Bryce Harper went to the Phillies organization 2 years ago and said, you should go get Pete Alonso, and they wouldn't do it. So, frankly, I don't know if we give them credit for being consistent or blame for being stubborn. So, again, you have an entire roster that is flawed in its construction. You have a prospect in Andrew Painter, who it looks like, hindsight being 2020, you rushed his development and his return from Tommy John surgery. A center fielder, quote unquote, in Justin Crawford, who is basically being asked to save this team on certain nights, and he just doesn't have that ability. Some reason Brandon Marsh became your third best hitter. I don't know when that happened, but good for Brandon Marsh. And let's not forget about JT Realmuto. The 3-year, $45 million contract, which to this day, nobody actually knows why you felt it necessary to give him that much money. It's not like he had some competitive market. Every MLB insider said the Phillies basically negotiated against themselves. It's almost like the Phillies are giving out contracts as like, hey, we appreciate you, so we're just going to throw you a ton of money. You know, Jesus Luzardo was paid like he was going to be a top of a rotation pitcher, and he's more like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde for your rotation. Like I said, I keep going through the whole roster, but it's obvious this roster is poorly constructed. So now the Phillies got to make a decision. Is Dave Dombrowski going to, with his front office staff, Preston Mattingly, all those guys, Sam Fold, are they going to say, we're in it to win it? Or are they going to tweak around the edges? And I have zero confidence that is what's going to happen. Ken Rosenthal earlier this week on the Foul Territory podcast, he made the point that the Phillies don't have the ammunition to get anyone they want.
The question with the Phillies is their system is not all that great right now. And are they going to be in position to make that kind of trade? They've made some pretty big trades in recent years. Duran was one, of course, some others as well. I'm not sure with Aiden Miller, their shortstop prospect, essentially having a lost year so far, that they really have enough to do something big. But guys like Dave Dombrowski and AJ Preller, they always seem to find players to trade and do the moves that they think are necessary.
And look, I know that, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. So I'm more than aware that there are scenarios where a team could call you about an Alex McFarland or an Arun Escobar or any of those type of players, and you could have a conversation. So I'm not saying it can't be done, but I have so many questions about what exactly the Phillies front office is doing, because as of right now, this roster is getting old. It's getting old fast. The injuries are getting more and more annoying, frustrating, exasperating, whatever term you want to use. Like I said, in a city where Howie Roseman and the Eagles have set the bar, in a city where the Sixers change general managers, what seems to be every 4 to 5 years, in a city where the Flyers are trying to build a team in the most deliberate, responsible way possible. It seems like when John Middleton said that he's willing to spend stupid money, I think the emphasis should have been more on stupid than money. Over on the text board at 609-403-0973, Shaner chimes in. He says, Josh, 100% correct. This is an aging team. We'll have 3 to 4 years of purgatory after next season. We are a borderline playoff team now and next year. If you can't beat the Dodgers, what are we talking about? Says Shaner on the great Egg Harbor Bay. Shaner, I think it's an excellent point, because if you're not built to beat the Dodgers, what hope do you have of getting to the promised land? I think the Phillies, in their mind, thought that improving the bullpen was going to be enough. For whatever reason, they believed that Brad Keller and Jonathan Bolin were both going to be these excellent acquisitions. For all I know, Kyle Dawkins could still be a good left-handed reliever long term as he comes back from the injury. But Tanner Banks has shown you why the Phillies' evaluations are problematic. They got rid of a guy who they perceived to be a locker room issue in Matt Strahm, and Tanner Banks and Jose Alvarado have not been fully able to replace that production. And no offense to Alvarado, but for a man who was supposedly, and I'm not trying to cast aspersions, but for a man who was supposedly taking a performance-enhancing drug to lose weight, and for him now to gain the weight back and look like he still has the control issues he had from 2 years ago, I do have to question how serious he is about his play moving forward. Hanging with Hennig, broadcasting live from the 973 ESPN Studios here on 973 ESPN. Don't forget, Hanging with Hennig will be back on the road the next 2 weeks. Next week, I will be Billy Schwein in the locker room. We'll be broadcasting live from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Margate Beach Dock. Come on down, meet the Philly Fanatic. Check out the Ben Gravy surfing competition, as well as other great activities for the family. It's just going to be an amazing day down at Margate on the beach. No beach tag required. Free admission. So come on down and hang out with us next Saturday at Margate Beach Dock. Food vendors are going to be there as well. It's going to be an amazing day. Also, the week after that, I will be back with my friends at Boulevard Super Liquors, located at Roosevelt Boulevard at the foot of the Ocean City 34th Street Bridge. Hanging with Hennig, myself, and Mike Carlin. We'll be back there Friday, July 3rd. So it'll be a special edition of Hanging with Hennig. Thanks to Mike Gill, because Mike Gill said, hey, I'm not going to be in that day, so why don't you take a hold of the afternoon shift? So we're going to do that at Boulevard Super Liquors. Stop by Boulevard Super Liquors on Friday, July 3rd, for your opportunity to win a signed Devontae Smith Eagles helmet, along with basket giveaways from Solento Organic Tequila, Douglas Candies, and Boulevard Super Liquors. So we will have great prize giveaways, but you must stop by Boulevard Super Liquors the weekend of July 4th on July 3rd in order to win the prize. And of course, Boulevard Super Liquors is where you should stop anyway, because they have the best selection of craft beer, whiskey, vodka, wines, and tequila in all of South Jersey. Plus, they're an easy access parking lot. So you can just get off exit 25, get in the parking lot, step inside, get what you need, and you can jump back on your way wherever you're going in South Jersey, just minutes from exit 25 at the foot of the 34th Street Ocean City Bridge. That is Boulevard Super Liquors. Hang with Hennig, broadcasting live here on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank CL. And we are streaming live on YouTube and X in the Dr. Squatch virtual studio. Coming up next, there is speculation about Brendan Sorsby and the Eagles. Is it legitimate? Plus, what are the Eagles' offense? What is the Eagles' offense going to look like next season? We'll ask the one and only Emory Hunt from Football Game Plan, CBS Sports HQ, next on 97.3 ESPN.
Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN Radio. The spotlight shines on a heated rivalry.
Juan Soto has tied this one up.
The New York Mets step into hostile territory to face Kyle Schwarber and the Philadelphia Phillies.
High and deep, and Schwarber demolishes one.
Mets, Phillies, Sunday Night Baseball. Coverage begins at 6:30 Eastern.
Listen to Sunday Night Baseball, Phillies, Mets on 97.3 ESPN.
From summer parties to beach days to dinners at your favorite BYOB restaurant, the one stop where I go for every occasion is Boulevard Super Liquors. Located on Roosevelt Boulevard at the foot of the Ocean City 34th Street Bridge, Boulevard Super Liquors has the best selection of craft beer, whiskey, vodka, wines, and tequila in all of South Jersey. Plus, just minutes from Garden State Parkway X25, so you can easily stop into Boulevard Super Liquors as you travel to your destination. These are just some of the reasons why Boulevard Super Liquors is the best at the Jersey Shore. Visit them on Instagram and Facebook to learn more about upcoming tasting events. And don't miss your chance to win a signed Devontae Smith helmet and special prize packages when Hang with Hennig broadcasts live on Friday, July 3rd at Boulevard Super Liquors on Roosevelt Boulevard at the foot of the Ocean City 34th Street Bridge. The best selection of beer and spirits in South Jersey.
For over 135 years, First Bank of Sea Isle City has proudly served Cape May County. With a commitment to maintaining a hometown feel, we provide secure, convenient deposit and loan products every day. We're more than just a bank. We're a trusted community partner, offering personalized banking solutions that make life easier for local families of all ages. First Bank of Sea Isle City. Look for our lighthouse in your neighborhood and discover what makes us different.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender. This is the story of the one who keeps multiple buildings running smoothly day after day. Plumbing that flows, HVAC that hums, cleaning supplies that keep surfaces sparkling. That's why she counts on Grainger. With easy reordering online and 24/7 support, Grainger helps her keep the products she needs on hand. So shelves stay stocked and buildings stay ready. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hey guys, it's Mike Gill for Clark's Moving and Storage down in Rio Grande. Let me tell you, we did a huge move not too long ago, and honestly, Clark's did a fantastic job. I mean, really fantastic. They moved all my stuff from my Ventnor place on the shore out to the mainland in EHT. Clark's Moving and Storage, they took care of it all from start to finish. Trust their moving company with the finest in storage and moving services. They're one of the largest companies in the area, and you can trust them. Believe me, they got it all done, moved everything, not a scratch, not a dent, not anything. On time, professional. They really did it all. I felt very comfortable and very confident in their team at Clark's Moving and Storage every step of the way. So do what I did and use Clark's Moving for your big move. Call them today, 609-889-0780, or visit them at clarksmoving.net. Clark's Moving is an authorized agent for Wheaton Worldwide Moving, so they can move you across the country or even around the world.
Hanging out at the Piccadilly, nowhere tomorrow. Keep coming, tails piled high with friends and family, spirits to the sky.
The Piccadilly Inn invites you to make the trip to the Pic for their whiskey and wing night. $45 get you wings, a flight board, and welcome cocktail featuring Green River Kentucky Straight whiskey. Try their honey finished, Kentucky Straight, wheated bourbon, and foolproof whiskeys. Follow the Pic on Facebook or visit Piccadilly.com.
Snapshot from Progressive wasn't created for just anybody. Oh no, we made it for you. Smooth accelerators. When that light turns green, you're off. Like a warm knife through firm butter. Going from 0 to the speed limit in an appropriate amount of time. Sure, your car has horsepower, but your horses prance around as silky smooth as your right foot. Fancy Prancerton. With Snapshot, safe drivers like you get personalized rates based on your driving habits. Sign up today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Snapshot not available in California or from all agents.
When it comes to injuries, you can't afford to get it wrong. Insurance companies, they delay, deny, and pay as little as possible. Who's on your side? The law offices of Greg A. Altman. Car accidents, slip and falls, serious workplace injuries. They build cases to put real pressure on the other side. Hey, you pay nothing unless they win. Don't guess, don't wing it. Call 856-327-8899 or visit GregAltmanLaw.com. Local office in Vineland, backed by a Philly firm that knows how to win.
Now back to Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN FM.
I don't want them to gain another yard.
And on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
You blitz all night.
Streaming live on YouTube, Instagram, and the X platform.
Josh Hennig back here on Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN. We'll get back to text board in just a bit. I see text coming in at 609-403-0973 right from Glenn and Abseekin. Of course, don't forget, we are just counting under 100 days to the start of the NFL season. But instead of having fun conversations about, what football is and isn't, who the Eagles are, the NFC East, instead half of our week has been hijacked by this Brendan Sorsby fiasco. So I said, why not call the man who said that Jalen Hurts was a Super Bowl winning quarterback? Why not call the man who has predicted almost every major quarterback correctly for at least the last 10 years? I'm sure he's got records beyond that. That is the czar of the playbook, the one and only Emory Hunt is back with us here on 97.3 ESPN. Emory, my friend, how you doing today?
Always a pleasure, Josh, man. Appreciate you bringing me on the show.
I appreciate you jumping on, and I'm so glad you're here because I am so over this Brendan Sorsby hype train. Like, I don't understand how on earth this guy went from being almost an afterthought on a Texas Tech team that had an elite defense to now being, he might be a franchise quarterback. So give the audience some information about who exactly Brendan Sorsby is and his legitimacy as an NFL prospect.
It's interesting because he played at Cincinnati last season, and it was just sort of like, okay, he has some good work-withable tools. He does a good job throwing a deep ball. I do like the fact that he can throw from different arm angles. He's a very good athlete, legitimate +1 in the run game. But too often you saw the inconsistencies with the decision-making, with the accuracy. His feet are never calm, so he gets himself into a lot of trouble in terms of sack or even not being able to throw accurately on the move. And those things were issues which led to him transferring to Texas Tech to play this season, because throughout all of last season, we never really discussed him as a serious NFL draft prospect because you just expected that he was going to go back for another season and work on his game. So his game, to me, is of that of a late second, third round type talent. And we're never going to see him get that opportunity to progress, to build on his game at Cincinnati, because he never plays for Texas Tech because he now is entering the supplemental draft.
So now we are entering the supplemental draft situation. So we've heard a lot of speculation out there, Emory, about the type of team that should select him, right? A team that maybe doesn't need a quarterback, or they already have a quarterback for the short and long term. For you, where is Sorsby in the tiers of his development and what a team should be doing with him?
I honestly think he should follow the Hunter Deckers path, where Deckers lost his entire career at Iowa State for gambling, had to go finish up at a JUCO. And then we saw him get signed by the New Orleans Saints last preseason, played in the preseason, but then got cut, just finished his spring season, ironically enough, with the Houston Gamblers, and then just got signed back by New Orleans last week. So for me, it's about, going and playing in an alternate league, showing that you can stay clean for at least a full calendar year before we even entertain bring you into our NFL organization. So I feel like he should either go up north to Canada or play in the spring in a UFL before he even thinks about going to the NFL.
I'm glad you mentioned about the Canadian route as well, because you're someone who also covers the Canadian Football League up there. So you're very well aware of the guys who maybe the NFL is not there for them, right? So they go to Canada. Is he a guy who you think would be a better fit for the Canadian Football League or the NFL?
Well, he can play in Canada because he has a quick release. He has the ability to drive the football, and he's a very good athlete. All of those traits pair up well with what the quarterbacks look like in the CFL. So I feel like he could play in any league, but the only reason why I say the NFL is because if you think about the smoke that's surrounding a guy that got caught betting, and not just, betting on other sports, but also betting on his team. And if you're worried about him betting on the game, that necessarily isn't my biggest concern because you don't have to play him. But the problem is him being in your building, and the linchpin to anybody that's having an edge in betting is understanding the injury report and schematic differences. And even if he's not playing, he has access to all of that inside information that he can then pass off to someone. So even by nature of him being on the roster and in the building, he is already leveraged by nefarious folks that would say, hey, give us X, Y, and Z. So I just feel like, why even bother entertaining that smoke? Let him go and, lay low for a minute, go play elsewhere for a minute before you even consider bringing him back into your building.
And for me, the final point I want to hit on with Soares before we get to some, real football conversation, what's actually going on, this offseason on the field with the NFC East. There's people who have suggested teams like the Eagles should or could draft a guy like him and make him be a developmental prospect. Is he the kind of player that a winning organization could bring in and make a project? Or do you think he's better suited for, you mentioned about the New Orleans Saints earlier, a team that maybe is not in championship mode?
I feel like any team that brings him in is asking for unnecessary chaos. So obviously the Eagles don't need that. And I feel like no team needs it. The only reason why you're hearing him be put with the Eagles is because folks don't like Jalen Hurts. And that's basically what it is. It wouldn't surprise me to hear people say Baltimore, Philly, Cleveland, because they don't like any of those quarterbacks either. So they're trying to quickly get guys up out the paint. So my thing is, like, those people that say that tend to not know what they're talking about, and they don't understand the true severity of the situation and the potential chaos that a guy like Brennan Sorsby can add to a locker room because of case in point. And this will drive the point home. I remember being in studio for week 1 last year when they played Nebraska, and they have the ball last, and he's driving down the field, and he throws arguably the worst interception I've seen somebody throw last season in college. And I'm like, why would he do this? It's first down. You got 20 seconds left. There was no reason to make that throw. And then fast forward to now with hindsight, you're like, well, damn, was that one of those things that, was something nefarious going on? Therein lies the problem, because anything that he does will be looked at doing something, it will have you questioning it. And you don't want that on the football team.
The one and only Emory Huntazar, the playbook, joining us. Football game plan, of course. Check him out on CBS Sports HQ as well, joining us here on 97.3 ESPN. You mentioned the aforementioned Jalen Hurts. That's where I wanted to go with you next. I'm personally excited to see what the Eagles do this year under a completely different offensive system. And I also like the fact, Emory, Jalen Hurts, the way he's speaking, he sounds like he is invested. So what is a realistic expectation for the Eagles with this new scheme?
Same thing. Here's the part that frustrates you about the conversation around Jalen Hurts. He has had a different offensive coordinator / play caller his entire career. And the crazy part is he has always had success. So the standard is the standard, to use a Mike Tomlin reference. The standard should be win the NFC East and go deep into the playoffs and perhaps get to a Super Bowl. As long as you have Jalen Hurts at quarterback, the Eagles have a chance to go and hoist the Lombardi trophy. This guy has gone to 2 Super Bowls, won one, outplayed Mahomes in the other. Why would they doubt that he can't get it done with a new offensive coordinator, something that we've seen him do his entire pro career? And we know he always works on his game. Talk about the humble nature of what he went through at Alabama to then stay at Alabama, before transferring to Oklahoma and learning a new offense, a totally different scheme, and finishing second in the Heisman Trophy to Joe Burrow. And if Burrow didn't play that year, Hurts' numbers was insane in and of itself. So it's just that Burrow had a historically great year. So Hurts has always shown he has the mental chops, the emotional chops, the physical chops to play high-level football, which he has done his entire time as a full-time starter in Philadelphia. So the talk around Hurts or about Hurts not being this or not being that is just foolhardy. A lot of people just be yapping. And so there's a difference between content and analysis, and those folks are more on the content side and not the analysis side.
I'm glad you brought up the Oklahoma point as well, because I think one of the biggest news items of the offseason isn't just the Eagles have a new offensive play caller. It's the fact that Lincoln Riley spent time in Philadelphia with Hurts and Sean Mannion, and they were kind of like, brain trusting this situation. And Emory, Jalen Hurts has success with basically 3 offensive coordinators, and one of the play callers was Lincoln Riley. And to me, if Lincoln Riley and Sean Mannion and Jalen Hurts are sitting down together, I don't know about you, but that gets me excited for 2026.
Especially when you look at what they've done. The biggest concern for me for Philly is mostly what does this offensive line room look like without Stoutland University? Jeff Stoutland being, retiring, it's like, wow, well, this is something we hadn't seen in a while. And that's, to me, the biggest concern. But the talent is there. They've drafted well. They've acquired talent well. This is a very good roster, one that I feel like will win the NFC East once again.
Couple of Pacific players I want to ask you about on the offensive side of the ball. One of them being Mekhi Lemon. He's a guy that a lot of people were surprised that he fell to Philadelphia where he did. What is your perspective of him with the Eagles? Not just as a prospect, but with him with the Eagles.
Well, I think he fits right in because he was my number 1 slot receiver in this draft class. So when you fast forward to where he is now and how he's going to be utilized as a guy that can get open pretty quickly, make himself available, make the tough catch. If you need him go outside and win above the rim, he could do that as well. He has what I like to say, the same thing that Devonta Smith has, that great sense of timing of when and where to make the big play. And I feel like Mekhi Lemon gives you another trusted option that's just about ball. Same with Devonta Smith and those guys you want on your football team because, again, when the game gets loud, they get calm and quiet and they're able to execute at a high level.
Now, Emory, you've known me for a while. I tend to fall in love with some guys in the draft sometimes. And I got to tell you, when the Eagles drafted Eli Stowers, that got my attention. I was a huge Stowers guy at Vanderbilt. I think he's got an incredible amount of potential. Am I too hyped about this guy?
No, not at all. And again, you think about adding additional weapons around Jalen Hurts. You add Mekhi Lemon. You add Eli Stowers, who's my number 2 flex tight end. And that's essentially like a big body wide receiver. So you have Dallas Goedert, who's getting up there in age. I'm not saying he's old, but he's advanced. He's been a long time Eagle. And you want to start developing those guys behind him. Grant Calcaterra is another one that they, drafted a couple of years ago or brought in a couple of years ago. But you want to get another guy, another threat in Stowers who can play off of a Goddard. And that, along with Smith and Lemon, and Hollywood Brown and, Dontavius Wicks, it's a good ecosystem for pass catchers, in my opinion, for Philadelphia.
Let's throw in a couple of teams around the NFC East before I let you go. Emory Hunt joining us here on 97.3 ESPN, an F-Ball Game Plan on the X platform, Football Game Plan on Instagram for all of your football analysis year-round. I am intrigued by the New York Giants. I think Harbaugh is basically the first stabilizing coach they've had in over a decade. I am very excited to see what his stability brings to that organization. What is something that you're zeroing in on with the Giants coming into this year?
Well, I've been at their off-season program, their mini camps and mandatory mini camps, OTAs, and I am saying it right now, and I've said it all spring, that this defense is going to be top 5. That's going to be a top 5 defense there. And I love that the secondary is competing at a high level. Denard Wilson has done a fantastic job in instilling that confidence in the secondary. And that's before we even talk about what they do within the front 7. Now, what Harbaugh will do is raise the floor. This is a team that will win with execution. They'll win with discipline. They'll win with efficiency. Now, that requires them to get the best out of Jackson Dart. I think they're going to require him to play an efficient game. And then when the situation presents itself, utilize your legs to go and get those first downs and go and get those touchdowns. And the fact that they've added an Odell Beckham Jr. and a Juju Smith-Schuster tells me, okay, they got veteran presence there, wide receiver. That kind of helps, elevate the room to a base level competency perspective until you get a Malik Neighbors back. And it also helps you not rush Malik Neighbors back. And I think because you brought in 2 veterans to go along with an impressive rookie and Malachi Fields with the Isaiah Likeleys, this team will be a problem for a lot of folks. And I feel like the Giants can flirt with 9 wins in that division as a whole, but that division can make things very interesting in my opinion.
Dallas Cowboys, their biggest problem the last couple of years has been defense. Is Christian Parker and the upgrades they made this offseason enough to make them contenders?
I believe so. And their process started last year when they brought in Quinnen Williams, and they just continue to build on that. So when you look at what they've done defensively, you like the pieces that they've added in the draft and also free agency. And if their defense can go from bad to average, that's all they need, because their offense is going to average 30 points a game. They got enough offensive weaponry and ability to score from anywhere. The problem for Dallas is weeks 1 through 17. Can you get the same Cowboys team for that stretch of the season, the entire season, instead of going up, down, and catching on late? Can they find their sea level early in the year and play that way all throughout the season and into the postseason? Because I do feel like that team will make the playoffs.
And finally, probably the biggest unknown in the division is the Washington Commanders. They fired a bunch of guys on the coaching staff at the end of last year, and now Jane Daniels is returning from the injury. What is the Washington Commanders, or who are they, should I say, coming into 2026?
That's the biggest unknown, and it's mainly on the defensive side of the ball. I have no problems with their offense. As long as Jane Daniels is out there healthy, they're going to get the type of play that can win them ball games. The defense was not good, to put it lightly, last year. And you're now looking at 7 to 8 new starters on defense. So it's not about the talent they brought in, because they brought in some good talent. It's about how can they gel right away and play as one voice in one unit. And if that's the case, now you're talking about a division that, it becomes tough week to week. Every game is going to count. And so defensively for Washington, if we, just like I said for Dallas, if they get from bad to average, they'll be a problem too, because they have a quarterback that's a difference maker, and they'll be able to run the football better because you added Katron Allen, you bring in a Rashad White. I love the fact that they can kind of focus on the defense. Yes, they're learning a new offense, but as you can run the football and if you can play good defense with a quarterback that's a +1, that's a game breaker, you elevate your chances of getting back to the postseason.
He's the best. Emory Hunt, F-ball game plan, football game plans, the X, the Instagram. Also, forget about the YouTube channel. Don't forget the draft guide. You can order that still. Maybe want to just order it now for some summer reading at the beach, I'm just saying, maybe just catch
I will
up
say
on
this about the draft guide. That's why my draft guide is the best. You have over 1,000 individual scouting reports, but it goes from the draft guide to now a preseason guide, because when all these players making plays and on the back of your roster trying to figure out who these guys are, we got reports on them.
Exactly. You got it all covered there in the draft guide. And of course, you can see him as well on CBS Sports HQ. He is Emory Hunt. I appreciate you jumping on today, my friend.
Appreciate you, Josh.
Josh Hennig hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank. Hey, don't forget, Hanging with Hennig is being brought to you by Cross County Connection, presenting 6 new SJ Connect shuttles, providing fare free transportation across southern New Jersey. Connect to jobs, colleges, healthcare, shopping, government services, and NJ Transit hubs, all at no cost to riders. For details, call 856-229-7571 or visit driveless.com. We'll check back on the text board on the other side. Glenn and Absecon, Bill from Ocean City, your text and more, 609-403-0973. Hanging with Hennig, broadcasting live on 97.3 ESPN FM. The 97.3 ESPN mobile app is powered by First Bank of Seattle City, and we are streaming live on YouTube and X in the Dr. Squatch virtual studio. Just follow at Josh Hennig.
The Stone Harbor Bar and Grill on 96th Street is Stone Harbor's most complete entertainment experience. Great food, fun, and libations, and newly remodeled for 2026. The same great owners and all your favorite menu items remain, and now we've taken things up a notch with a brand new bar, new sound system, 36 brand new 4K TVs, and more. No matter where you sit, you always have a perfect sight line to the big game, and you've got to try our mouth-watering new menu items. Start your meal with blackened scallops, homemade fried pickles, or a cheeseburger flatbread. Try our new Chicago-style dog, or the Mary Ann sandwich, a chicken cutlet, broccoli rabe, and sharp provolone on world-famous Rando's Bakery Atlantic City bread. The Stone Harbor Bar and Grill sources only the top ingredients and serves up the best quality food. Voted best wings of Stone Harbor and the Jersey Shore by Lord of the Wings. Prime rib nights Friday and Saturdays, rib nights on Sundays, and Mike the Magician Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The newly remodeled Stone Harbor Bar and Grill on 96th Street in the heart of Stone Harbor. Open 11:30 a.m. till midnight, 7 days a week. Go to stoneharborbarandgrill.com or call 609-961-3534 for more.
For 23 years, we've helped athletes at all levels of Klemic Performance Method, from youth to pros, increase maximum velocity, acceleration, vertical leaps, and general physical preparedness. We offer youth, high school, and pro college classes. Our proven results have earned national recognition from NFL coaches, sponsors, and a feature on ESPN Radio's Sports Science segment. You can contact me directly at 609-742-6190, or as always, visit us on our website, KlemicPerformanceMethod.com.
Hello, I'm the Atlantic County Sheriff, Joseph O'Donoghue. I've proudly dedicated my law enforcement career to keeping our community safe. But I also am a proud parent, grandparent, and great-grandparent who understands the importance of keeping our children safe. Motor vehicle crashes continue to be the leading cause of death for our children ages 1 to 12. No parent or caregiver wants to ever imagine that their child is involved in a car crash, but it's important to be prepared. Children should always be buckled up in the right seat, the right booster seat for their age, their height and weight, every ride, every time. A properly installed child safety seat can reduce the risk of injury by as much as 71% for infants and 54% for our toddlers. Atlantic County Sheriff's Office is definitely here to help. We have certified child passenger safety seat technicians available to properly install or check the position of your car seat at no charge. For more information, please call 609-909-7200 or visit acsheriff.org.
Celebrate 4th of July savings happening now at the Home Depot with select appliances starting at $398. Plus, get free delivery on appliance purchases of $398 or more, no membership required. Get a Whirlpool fridge with easy reach zone to keep tall items organized and accessible. And upgrade to a washer dryer tower with UV clean technology to reduce bacteria in the wash without fading fabrics. Shop top brand appliances now at the Home Depot. Offer valid June 17th to July 8th, US only. See store online for details.
Go for the fun times and the tan lines. Experience an Atlantic City you never knew. Go to Ocean. Go for the win. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
For over 135 years, First Bank of Sea Isle City has proudly served Cape May County. With a commitment to maintaining a hometown feel, we provide secure, convenient deposit and loan products every day. We're more than just a bank. We're a trusted community partner, offering personalized banking solutions that make life easier for local families of all ages. First Bank of Sea Isle City. Look for our lighthouse in your neighborhood and discover what makes us different.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
There's enough needless nonsense in the world already. Your phone plan shouldn't add to it. Verizon's new Simplicity plan cuts down on the nonsense in your life. Now there's just one plan, one price, $30 a line per month, even for a single line. And everyone gets our best 5G network. It's a phone plan designed to do exactly what a phone plan is supposed to do. Isn't that a lot simpler? Switch today at Verizon.com or at your nearest store. For new customers, $30 per line includes auto pay and switch discount. Additional taxes, fees, and terms apply. Unlimited data is restricted to on-device smartphone usage. Domestic data roaming at 2G speeds.
Caesars Sportsbook is the only sportsbook app with Caesars Rewards. Bet every game like a Caesar and earn perks on every bet. Hotel stays, bonus bets, game tickets, all in one app. Download the app with promo code RADIODYW and place your first bet of $1 or more for a chance to double your winnings on your next 10 bet. Open to new users in New Jersey who are 21 or older. Max bet of $25 for boosted winnings. Max additional winnings $2,500 per bet. Profit boost tokens expire 14 days after receipt. See Caesars.com/promos for full terms. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
You're hanging with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN FM.
People will come, Ray.
And on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
People will most definitely come.
Streaming live on YouTube, Instagram, and the X platform.
Back here on Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN. I want to get you a couple texts before we wrap up the hour here. We got Bill in Ocean City. I think he asked a very important question, does Bill, where he says, hey, Josh, I wish they would release the information on Sorsby if he bet on his team win or lose. Both are bad, but if it's to win, you know he wasn't throwing games. If it was to lose, they shouldn't be allowed in the league. So the reporting out there, and again, we don't know all the details, Bill in Ocean City, but it's a very important question to ask. The reporting is that Sorsby bet on his team to win. Now, what do we do with that information? Like you said, at least he wasn't throwing the game. Okay, but the problem is, as Emory said, if you're willing to bet on your team to win, how do I know if you don't have a side bet to hedge your own pass total, rush total? You know, if you're not incentivized to maybe throw to one guy versus there's so many layers to this. And that's why for me, Sorsby is an absolute no. I have zero interest in the guy for my team, the Eagles, and if whoever team you're rooting for, right? If you're a Steelers fan, a Cowboys fan, a Giants fan, a Dolphins fan, to me, I don't think any fandom should want Brendan Sorsby because this young man obviously has an issue. And it's not a addiction or gambling issue. People don't always remember that there's a deeper element to a lot of this behavior. A lot of bad behavior is a character issue. It's not just I have an addiction. Well, then why is there an addiction? There's a trigger factor that goes with these things. So if I can't trust you when it comes to this, what else can I not trust you with? That is the deep-seated problem when it comes to Brendan Sorsby. All right, more text to get to. 609-403-0973. Thea and Mays Landing, as well as Glenn and Epstein, and your texts and more coming up the other side. Hanging with Hennig, broadcasting live on 97.3 ESPN. Don't forget the Ivy Rehab Injury Report coming up at 1:25. What is going on with Christian Pulisic's calf? We'll tell you coming up on 97.3 ESPN.
Hey, South Jersey, this is Billy Schwein. Tune into The Locker Room every Saturday and Sunday from 10 a.m. to noon on 97.3 ESPN. Each weekend in The Locker Room, you will get passionate sports talk from a fan's perspective, along with interviews with some of the biggest names in sports. That's every Saturday and Sunday from 10 a.m. to noon in The Locker Room with me, Billy Schwein, on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, because nothing could be finer than talking sports with a Schweiner.
Caesars Sportsbook is the only sportsbook app with Caesars Rewards. Bet every game like a Caesar and earn perks on every bet. Hotel stays, bonus bets, game tickets, all in one app. Download the app with promo code RADIODYW and place your first bet of $1 or more for a chance to double your winnings on your next 10 bet. Open to new users in New Jersey who are 21 or older. Max bet of $25 for boosted winnings. Max additional winnings $2,500 per bet. Profit boost tokens expire 14 days after receipt. See Caesars.com/promos for full terms. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
For adults with Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms, every choice matters. Tremfya offers self-injection or intravenous infusion from the start. Tremfya is administered as injections under the skin or infusions through a vein every 4 weeks, followed by injections under the skin every 4 or 8 weeks. If your doctor decides that you can self-inject Tremfya, proper training is required. Tremfya is a prescription medicine used to treat adults with moderately to severely active Crohn's disease and adults with moderately to severely active ulcerative colitis. Serious allergic reactions, increased risk of infections or lower ability to fight them, and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or need a vaccine. Explore what's possible. Ask your doctor about Tremfya today. Call 1-800-526-7736 to learn more or visit tremfyaradio.com.
Getting ready to hit the water? Stop by Hands 2 Bait and Tackle, located just before the Cape May Bridge. Hands 2 Bait and Tackle is your one-stop shop for fishing and crabbing. From fresh bait like clams, bunker, and minnows to rods, reels, and apparel, they've got everything you need. Not sure what's biting? The Hands 2 crew will point you in the right direction with the latest local reports and expert advice. Whether you're chasing stripers or crabbing with the family, stop in or call 609-884-BAIT, BAIT.
There's only one Ozempic.
Hello, I'm Ozempic. Because this ad is 30 seconds, I can't get into everything I'm FDA approved to do, so I'm just going to play my jingle again. But first, ask your doctor about which FDA approved uses of me, the Ozempic pen, may be right for you. Call 1-833-OZEMPIC or visit Ozempic.com to view the medication guide and learn more about Ozempic semaglutide injection, 2 milligrams. Only Novo Nordisk makes FDA approved Ozempic. Now here's that jingle again.
There's only one Ozempic.
The times you spend with your friends and loved ones are the best. Those selfies you take now will shape memories that will last a lifetime. Make sure you stay in the picture and stay away from fentanyl. Only 2 milligrams of fentanyl can cause an overdose. So learn about the dangers and risks of this frightening, deadly drug at stayinthepic.nj.gov. Don't risk your life and all those wonderful memories you're creating. Stay in the picture and stay away from fentanyl. Know all the risks. Visit stayinthepic.nj.gov. From New Jersey Human Services.
4th of July savings are happening now at the Home Depot with select appliances starting at $398. Plus, get free delivery on appliance purchases of $398 or more, no membership required. Upgrade your kitchen with a modern and sleek GE Profile refrigerator featuring hands-free autofill for the perfect pour every time. And make laundry day easier with 2-in-1 washer-dryer combo innovation that completes laundry in about 90 minutes. Shop top brand appliances now at the Home Depot. Offer valid June 17th to July 8th. U.S. only. See store online for details.
Hanging out at the Piccadilly. Nowhere at tomorrow. Everyone's happy. Beers keep coming. Tails piled high with friends and family. Spirits to the sky.
The Piccadilly Inn invites you to make the trip to the Pic for their whiskey and wing night. $45 get you wings, a flight board, and welcome cocktail featuring Green River Kentucky Straight Whiskey. Try their honey finished, Kentucky Straight, wheated bourbon, and foolproof whiskeys. Follow the Pic on Facebook or visit piccadilly.com.
South Jersey's official play-by-play home of the Eagles, Sixers, and Flyers.
At 0 point would I ever consider not being a fan of the team.
97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey.
Finally! This is Hanging with Hennig.
I have friends everywhere.
On 97.3 ESPN Radio, South Jersey.
In New Jersey. Am I right? Yeah.
Live feed on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
It seems to run on some form of electricity. Well, you're not wrong.
Streaming live on YouTube, Instagram, and the X platform.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together.
Now, here's your host.
He's not gone. That's the whole point. He's never gone.
Josh Hennig.
Hanging with Hennig, broadcasting live from the 97.3 ESPN Studios. Yes, we're back in the studio today. We will be back on the road for the next 2 weeks on 97.3 ESPN. I'll be joining Billy Schwein in the locker room. Next Saturday, we'll be broadcasting back-to-back, 10 to 3 p.m., broadcasting live from Margate Beach Stop. We will be there all day long next Saturday. It'll be a great day to come on out, bring the family down. Of course, you have the Ben Gravy surf competition, all kinds of fun and games for kids to enjoy. They got a home run hitting contest. Come down and meet the Fanatic. There's just so much going on at Margate Beach Dock. Of course, stay tuned to 97.3 ESPN with more details about all the great activities, festivities at Margate Beach Dock. And then the week after that, I will be at Boulevard Super Liquors. We will be giving away a Devontae Smith signed helmet, as well as giveaway baskets from Solento Organic Tequila, Douglas Candies, and Boulevard Super Liquors. The best selection of beer, whiskey, vodka, wines, and tequila in all of South Jersey. Minutes off Garden State Parkway, X25 at the foot of the Ocean City 34th Street Bridge. Still to come as well, we got the Ivy Rehab Injury Report. We will get into what is going on with Christian Pulisic's calf. Yes, Team USA won against Australia yesterday, but what else can they do moving forward? Well, we're going to get into that coming up with Dr. Josh Land today, as well as what is right forearm tendonitis that Brad Keller is dealing with. All that and more still to come here on Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN. But right now, back to the text board at 609-403-0973. And I'm going to address this text first, because I have always said that if one person is willing to text it, there might be somebody else thinking the same thing. Now, the person didn't leave their name, but they said, so basically, Josh, what you're saying is you'll never trust anyone with addiction, is what you're saying. Probably not something you want to say on the radio. So that's not what I was saying. But instead of being upset or angry, let's clarify this. I said before that there are different tiers when it comes to what an addiction is, why it is, the triggers for it. It's not all apples to apples, okay? There are studies that show that addictions like gambling are very different than alcohol consumption or cigarette smoking, just to use those as two, okay? Gambling addiction and similar type of those kind of vices where it involves a certain level of mental focus and acuity and almost like obsessive compulsiveness. It's hard to trust somebody who has a part of their brain that is willing to do something even though they know they shouldn't do it, okay? And again, these are not apple-to-apple comparisons, but sports gambling is something that everyone knows at every level. If you are someone who's participating, you shouldn't do. It is literally in Major League Baseball clubhouses. It's literally in players' contracts when they sign agreements. It's all around different college campuses and locker rooms, right? It is a part of the normal discourse of the sports landscape that you know that betting on your sport is a no-no, okay? So now, if you do that, okay, if you gamble on your team or on your sport, whether you are actively participating in, you are not just violating the group trust of all the players, the coaches, everybody involved, the fans, but you're also doing something that is not socially acceptable. And people who are willing to do things that are socially out of the norm, those are people who you have to question them in other areas of life as well. One of the courses I took when I was in college was a class called the Sociology of Deviance. And one of the things they talk about in there is about people who have responsibilities or jobs or positions. Athletes, they talk about it in the course, right? We talked about it how, at the time when I was taking the course, the Phillies were going in their playoff run, and the professor used the example of, if Cole Hamels is gambling that he is going to win his start. In his mind, he might rationalize as, well, I want to win anyway, so why wouldn't I bet on myself to win? But the problem is that what you're doing is you're creating excuses for a behavior that is not considered acceptable. So if you're willing to create excuses for a behavior that is not acceptable or is considered anything immoral, right? We always hear stories about how people who are narcissists, right? Those are the people who, if they cheat on somebody, they deflect the blame. They make it somebody else's fault. They try to make excuses. Oh, I have an addiction, or I have a sex addiction, or no, you're just maybe a bad person. How about that? So the problem is when you have someone who has a gambling addiction, especially on their own sport, now you're having to ask the question, are there any other things, other issues, other problems that are creating a dynamic that you are willing to make excuses for your behavior? Does it turn into, you shouldn't do that? Oh, well, I have an addiction. I have a problem. You got to give me some leeway. Because what makes this situation, anonymous texter at 609-403-0973, what makes the Brendan Sorsby situation completely different than other athletes or other addictions, shall I say, is someone who has an alcohol addiction, someone who has other, like a narcotics addiction. They go to Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous. Part of their recovery is the admission and the continued diligence about their issue. There is an ongoing process of public and personal admission and accountability. That is completely different than Brendan Sorsby. Brendan Sorsby has not taken a lot of time to publicly address his problem. Sure, he went to a rehab facility, but if he was never caught, would he have gone to that rehab facility? Did Brendan Sorsby hit rock bottom before he went out and got help? Is Brendan Sorsby going to the NFL because he's trying to do the right thing by Texas Tech and by the college football landscape? Or is he doing it because he realizes that he can't get his way in college and now he wants to go to the NFL where he might get a little more leeway? That is where the difference is. There's a huge, huge difference between somebody who looks like they're trying to find an escape hatch and they're using addiction as an excuse for their bad behavior, and someone who says, I have a problem, I'm owning up to it, and I am going to work through that process. And you know what? Maybe he does have a legitimate problem, Stephen EHT. And I know it's a touchy subject, but I'm not afraid to touch on touchy subjects here on Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN. You know, I was very much criticized when the Carson Wentz stuff happened years ago. I had someone text in and call me a Nazi, for goodness sake, for my criticism of Carson Wentz. You know, I talked about the Colin Kaepernick stuff 10 years ago here on 97.3 ESPN. I got a lot of side eyes for that. So I'm not afraid to talk about touchy subjects, Stephen EHT. But I genuinely look at Sorsby and I just have a lot of questions about, is this really an addiction problem or is there a deeper seated problem? And that's why for me, if I am a professional football team, I am not taking the risk on this guy, because from my analysis as an outsider looking in, with much fewer resources and investigative reporting, like I don't have the resources an NFL team does. And if I'm seeing red flags left and right, I'm assuming other teams are going to see the same red flags, because again, you're actively making these wagers while you're playing. And instead of coming out and saying, having this big press conference, right? I was bad. I did wrong. I'm going to go get help. Instead of using this opportunity to cut through the noise of all the media talking about you and saying, hey, this is why I'm going to the NFL. I want you all to know that, yes, I had this problem. I went to rehab, and now I'm standing up here on TikTok or Instagram or YouTube Live or X Live or whatever you want to use, Brendan Sorsby. I have heard more about A.J. Brown and his views and his perspectives on mental health in the last 12 months than I've ever heard from Brendan Sorsby on any subject. Like, if you told me, if you sent me an audio file and said, hey, Josh, I got a voice note. It's Brendan Sorsby. You know what I would say? I've never heard this guy talk before. I'm serious. I don't even know what he sounds like. Does he have an accent at all? Does he sound like he's got a regional dialect? Like, I have zero clue. And I think that for me is what really cuts to the point, Stephen EHT. Recovery from any addiction involves accountability to yourself, to others. If you have a mental health problem, if you have a situation, and again, I want to get back to the Phillies. I want to get back to the World Cup stuff. I want to get back. I love about the U.S. Open. Wendell Clark is dominating this tournament so far. It's absolutely nuts. So I don't want to dig too much deeper into this. But I will finalize the point by this. If somebody else wants to text in and follow up, we can have the conversation at 609-403-0973 on the White Horse RV text board. As someone who has known people personally who have dealt with addiction, who have dealt with mental health issues, who have dealt with a total litany of stuff, okay? The reason why all of those people are individuals who I have trust for on different levels, the reason why those are people who I look at and I don't see them for their addiction. I don't see them for their mental health problem, or I don't see them with a label on top of their head being like, you are this, is because they're individuals who took responsibility. They're individuals who didn't make excuses. They were honest. They were upfront with me and other people about these things. And the problem with Brendan Sorsby is that he has not been upfront and honest about anything. And I don't think this is as simple as he just can't help himself. I think there's a deeper seated problem. And until Sorsby addresses, as a public facing individual, that issue, I have zero interest in him to be a player on my team. All right. Let's get back to sports. 609-403-0973. Thea in Mays Landing says, thank you, Josh, for having Emory Hunt on. He is always insightful and informative. What are the Phillies going to do? We need help. The Phillies are going to make trades, Thea. I don't know how many trades, but they're going to make trades. The question for the Phillies is going to be, are the trades that you're going to make going to be big, or are they going to be small? That's the concern that I have. Are the trades the Phillies going to make going to be a little part here, a little part there? It's like mowing your lawn. Are you going to mow the whole lawn? Or are you just going to mow around the sides of the house? Are you taking care of the whole property? Or are you going to just mow the part that people can see street side and leave the back of the property with crazy crabgrass growing out of nowhere and everywhere? To me, that's the variable. That's the difference. Thea, I would love to say the Phillies are going to get help because they need a right-handed bat, left-handed relief pitching. They need another starting pitcher, for example. We still don't know who the starting pitcher is. I mean, I'm going to double check, but I haven't seen any moves as of right now, as of 1:18 p.m. on Saturday, that suggest the Phillies have made a move that will replace Andrew Painter's spot in the rotation. Now, I think most people will assume it's going to be Alan Angel because Angel is on the same timeline in terms of his starts in the minor leagues as Andrew Painter is in the major leagues. But we haven't gotten that confirmation yet. Yeah, we're still waiting on the Phillies to give us a straight answer about what they're doing. Let's squeeze in Glenn from MC before we hit the break here at 609-403-0973. Glenn says, Bryce Harper is just a good player now. He's clearly no longer elite. Trey Turner is a player with a superstar contract who is not a star player anymore. Stott and Bohm are just average guys. GC Ramuto is just a guy at this point. Marsh and Schwarber have been the most consistent hitters. The pitching staff has 2 to 3 bona fide starters in the playoffs. None of this can be enough. This is a marginal playoff team at best, says Glenn Hapsekin. Glenn, you're 100% right. I don't think people talk enough about the reality that the Phillies just don't have enough talent. And this organization, again, wants to keep telling us we have a good club. Good ball club. Good club. I don't think it's good enough. Hanging with Hennig, broadcasting live from the 973 ESPN Studios on 973 ESPN. Coming up on the other side, Team USA won in the World Cup yesterday. They advanced to the knockout stage of the World Cup, but without Christian Pulisic. They won 2-0, but they didn't have the best player on their team. What is going on with Christian Pulisic's calf injury? Plus, Brad Keller is on the injured list with what the team has called right forearm tendonitis. What does that even mean? Well, that's Dr. Josh Lamb for the Ivy Rehab Injury Report coming up next here on Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN FM. The 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. We are streaming live on YouTube and X at Josh Hennig. Like, subscribe, share with your friends in the Dr. Squatch virtual studio.
Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN Radio. The spotlight shines on a heated rivalry.
Juan Soto has tied this one up.
The New York Mets step into hostile territory to face Kyle Schwarber and the Philadelphia Phillies.
Schwarber demolishes one.
Mets Phillies Sunday Night Baseball. Coverage begins at 6:30 Eastern.
Listen to Sunday Night Baseball, Phillies Mets on 97.3 ESPN.
The Stone Harbor Bar and Grill on 96th Street is Stone Harbor's most complete entertainment experience. Great food, fun, and libations, and newly remodeled for 2026. The same great owners and all your favorite menu items remain, and now we've taken things up a notch with a brand new bar, new sound system, 36 brand new 4K TVs, and more. No matter where you sit, you always have a perfect sight line to the big game, and you've got to try our mouth-watering new menu items. Start your meal with blackened scallops, homemade fried pickles, or a cheeseburger flatbread. Try our new Chicago-style dog, or the Mary Ann sandwich, a chicken cutlet, broccoli rabe, and sharp provolone on world-famous Rando's Bakery Atlantic City bread. The Stone Harbor Bar and Grill sources only the top ingredients and serves up the best quality food. Voted best wings of Stone Harbor and the Jersey Shore by Lord of the Wings. Prime rib nights Friday and Saturdays, rib nights on Sundays, and Mike the Magician Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The newly remodeled Stone Harbor Bar and Grill on 96th Street in the heart of Stone Harbor. Open 11:30 a.m. till midnight, 7 days a week. Go to stoneharborbarandgrill.com or call 609-961-3534 for more.
Other dealers play games. BAM keeps it real. At Bridgeton Auto Mall, there are no gimmicks, no pressure, just deals. Transparent pricing, a huge inventory of quality vehicles, and a 5-day return policy that gives you peace of mind. Need financing? BAM makes approvals fast and easy for every situation. Plus, refer a friend and you could earn a $500 referral bonus. And every service visit includes a complimentary car wash. This summer, skip the games and experience the BAM difference. Bridgeton Auto Mall, 808 North Pearl Street, Bridgeton, or drivebam.com.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment? That's a lie. Most timeshares can be bought online for $1. To find out what your timeshare is worth and to cancel it, call us today and we'll send you our timeshare exit kit free with all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley for your free exit info guide. 800-790-1400. 800-790-1400.
For over 22 years, Riptide Bait and Tackle has been the go-to spot for anglers of every level. They've got everything you need, including fresh bait, the largest selection of gulp in South Jersey, crabbing supplies, rods, reels, tackle, apparel, and more. Even famous stocks pound cans. Riptide is a Shimano top shelf dealer and a Penn Gold label dealer, plus home of the famous Riptide Rodders. Follow Riptide Bait and Tackle on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok for daily fishing reports. And stop in before your next trip.
Sound familiar? At Mattress Firm, we understand there are many problems that can keep you up at night, like snoring, aches and pains, or sleeping hot. Our sleep experts have the unrivaled know-how to match you with a mattress that can help. And now at Mattress Firm, upgrade to a Tempur-Pedic and learn how you can get 3% back plus an instant gift. For the great sleep you deserve, visit Mattress Firm. We make sleep easy. Restrictions apply. See store or website for details.
Go for the fun times and the tan lines. Experience an Atlantic City you never knew. Go to Ocean. Go for the win.
Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Honey, did you invite the minions over?
Well, you know how we talked about getting Wi-Fi from Xfinity?
Yeah.
I ordered it this morning, was online in minutes, then they showed up.
So they just came over to use the Wi-Fi?
They even brought their own devices and spell book.
You didn't give them the new Wi-Fi password, right?
No.
That's good.
I gave them our old one because Xfinity lets us keep the same network name and password so devices connect instantly.
What do they want Wi-Fi for anyways?
Better not to know. Plausible deniability.
Get streaming or scheming instantly with same-day Wi-Fi from Xfinity. Plus, lock in one price for the most reliable fiber-powered Wi-Fi for 5 years. Guaranteed. And see Minions and Monsters only in theaters. Xfinity. Imagine that. Restrictions apply. Not available in all areas. Use of fiber coaxial cable. Learn more at xfinity.com/same-day Wi-Fi.
When it comes to injuries, you can't afford to get it wrong. Insurance companies, they delay, deny, and pay as little as possible. Who's on your side? The law offices of Craig A. Altman. Car accidents, slip and falls, serious workplace injuries. They build cases to put real pressure on the other side. Hey, you pay nothing unless they win. Don't guess, don't wing it. Call 856-327-8899 or visit CraigAltmanLaw.com. Local office in Vineland, backed by a Philly firm that knows how to win.
You're hanging with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN FM.
Hey, you know what? There's another name you might know me by. Star-Lord.
And on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Who? Star-Lord, man. Legendary outlaw.
Streaming live on YouTube, Instagram, and the X platform.
Josh Hennig back here on Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN. We'll get back to text board a little bit later in the hour at 609-403-0973. I see text coming in from Tom from Margate as well as Andrew in Summers Point. But right now, it is time for the Ivy Rehab Injury Report with over 80 locations around South Jersey offering best-in-class outpatient physical therapy. They're my physical therapists. That's why you should go to Ivy Rehab Physical Therapy Centers. And joining us again today, talk more about some injuries. Dr. Josh Lamb is back with us here on 97.3 ESPN. Dr. Josh, how you doing today?
I'm doing really well, Josh. It's wonderful to be back on the program.
I'm glad to have you back on. And I feel like these injuries we're talking about today it's always interesting when you have unique injuries, right? That, kind of create a conversation where it's like, the average person, they sprain their ankle, they know, right? But sometimes these injuries, like the Christian Pulisic situation is absolutely wild to me. And that's why I'm glad to have you on, because Team USA did win yesterday, but without Christian Pulisic, right? So for those who don't know, he was a left calf injury. He was accidentally kicked in the back of his leg. Reports say the Team USA officials are being extra careful and precautionary with him because he has had leg injuries over the years, including calf issues, hamstring and thigh strains, as well as knee problems. So when you as a physical therapist hear about a player with all of these issues, right? And then it's, hey, we're being extra careful with him because of his history. What does that say to you?
So when we initially evaluate any patient, whether it's an athlete or someone who's coming into the clinic, we want to take a thorough history. We really want to understand the history of what's gone on in the past, not only with the current injury, but any past injuries, because past injuries do leave, you could say, so to speak, somewhat of a memory. Every time you get injured, there's going to be scar tissue that's laid down. The body's going to heal and adapt, but things do change gradually over time. And the body will heal and adapt and modify those injuries, but there can be lingering remaining tightnesses. There could be lingering remaining weaknesses that can, over time, kind of build on each other with multiple and repeated injuries. So having that history is so important to understand. One of the things that's very interesting when it comes to healing, especially soft tissue like muscle, like skin, like tendon, is that when scar tissue is laid down to kind of glue it back together, so to speak, that scar tissue then becomes part of the tissue, kind of remodels and lines up with the rest of the tissue, but it remains there. And that scar tissue does remain a little bit weaker than the surrounding tissue. It can remain a little bit more sensitive than the surrounding tissue, and it can lead to an accumulation of problems over time with multiple injuries. So having that thorough history is very, very important. Now, in this situation specifically, he was kicked in the calf. So that would be what we would classify as a contusion injury or a bruising injury. Very rarely in this type of situation would we expect there to be a major tear or anything like that. Now, not impossible, but we wouldn't expect there to be tearing in the tissue. But oftentimes with these contusion injuries, we're looking at a lot of micro traumas. Trauma at the cellular level, trauma at the vascular level, like in the capillary beds, which can break and hinder the blood supply, injury to the nerve endings, which can cause hypersensitivity and problems with coordination and control of muscle contraction. All these small structures get damaged and disrupted with these kind of contusion injuries. And it's very important that we allow them to heal. If we don't allow them to heal properly, it can lead to impaired performance. It can lead to increased risk of further and more serious injury because of the disruption of the blood flow, for example, in the bruise. You see all the black and blue with those broken capillaries. Those muscle structures are not going to be getting as much blood flow, which is going to hinder the muscle's ability to recover, increase the risk of it having further injury if you were to get back to play too soon. So they're holding him back. They want him to heal. They want him to be prepared and ready to go for the field by maximizing his healing potential through likely manual hands-on therapies, modalities like heat and ice, in order to help modify and control the amount of blood flow that's going to the area, reducing excess inflammation, which can lead to secondary damage, creating all of these environmental factors that they need in order to maximize and optimize the healing process. And that's what we can do in physical therapy. We get you in right away with direct access. You can come straight to us. If you're hitting the leg during work, if you fall off something and sprain your ankle, come straight to us. We'll get you feeling better right away or at least on the process of feeling better right away, because the sooner we can get these things under control, the faster you get back to not only play in this case, but to work, to your hobbies, whatever it might be.
And I'm glad you mentioned about the process, because I think that is part of the conversation we need to have, which is, what is the process for a calf injury? Because, I know there's different elements of the calf, right? It's the upper calf, it's the lower calf, right? You mentioned how we got kicked in the back of the leg. So let's say someone listening to us right now on 97.3 ESPN, let's say they themselves, maybe somebody hit the back of their leg, right? Maybe they're at work, maybe they're playing with their kids, right? And maybe their kid accidentally kicks the back of their leg, right? Accidents happen. So what then is the rehabilitation process if someone came to Ivy Rehab with this type of issue?
So one of the first things we would need to determine is which muscle in the calf is injured. There are two primary muscles in the calf, one called the gastrocnemius, one called the soleus. Like you said, kind of the upper and the lower, you can think of it as. And there's a slight difference in the anatomy to these muscles. One of them crosses the knee joint, the other one doesn't. So it's going to affect how we want to stretch or mobilize or strengthen, depending on exactly which muscle is involved. Once we determine that, we're going to want to maximize the healing level of blood flow, reduce any muscle spasm or contraction. With those micro traumas, we can have a loss of control of the atoms and ions, calcium specifically, that help manage the contraction of the muscle. So we want to help to get as much blood flow back in that area in a controlled way to stimulate healing and recovery. Turn on the pumps that are inside the muscle to pull everything back out to reduce spasm and contraction in that muscle, and then start stretching out the muscle accordingly, which muscle it is. Straight knee helps us to stretch the gastrocnemius better. Bent knee helps us stretch the soleus better, for example. And then targeted strengthening as it recovers through that process in the appropriate positions, whether it's the gastrocnemius or the soleus muscle. We would want to target the strengthening and rehabilitation of that. We also want to be thinking about the opposite muscles. Oftentimes there can be a loss of coordination and control in the opposite muscles when we have an injury. The opposite muscles of the calf would be the front shin muscles. Those muscles help pull up on the foot, whereas the calf pushes down on the foot. But there can be a loss of control of tone on both sides. And so we want to make sure that we're working the whole area, not just the calf, but the other ankle muscles, even the knee, the thigh, the hip, they all work together. So having a thorough plan of care to get the individual back to whatever their goals are.
Yeah, and I know, for example, for me, one of the things that, I went through when we were dealing with my neck and my shoulder issues was you really pushed me, hey, go work your back, work the opposite muscles, not just the main primary muscle. And that's a huge part of this conversation, especially for a guy like Christian Pulisic, because he has had multiple leg issues. So I'm sure that while he's doing rehab and physical therapy for the calf, they're probably working on, the ankle, the knee, the other parts of the leg to make sure that when the calf is 100%, that he didn't neglect the other parts of the leg too.
Absolutely. We call it, we always reference everything together as systems. We talk about the motor systems, and everything works together as a team. So we want to make sure that everything is back up to par and working well in all aspects before returning, especially to something high level like sport.
Ivy Rehab Injury Report, Dr. Josh Lamb with over 18 locations around South Jersey, best-in-class outpatient physical therapy, joining us here on Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN. So we talked about the lower body. Now let's go to upper body, to use the hockey term, right? So Brad Keller, he is on the injured list for the Phillies. He is their big offseason signing, Dr. Josh. He was the guy they gave a lot of money to come in here and help this bullpen. Well, now he's on the injured list. Well, the team is calling right forearm tendonitis. Reports say that Keller has been dealing with what the team described as a lingering arm soreness. So when someone is diagnosed with tendonitis, but they also are saying this has been lingering for a while, what does that say to you as a physical therapist?
So there's oftentimes a misnomer when it comes to the word tendonitis, or just the suffix itis in general. Itis in healthcare and science, it was referring to inflammation of. So when you're saying tendonitis, what you're really saying is inflammation of the tendon. Sometimes that's used as a catch-all term, and it may not be fully accurate. Now, we may have some amount of inflammation. We would want to determine that. We are looking for the cardinal signs of inflammation: redness, heat, swelling, pain, loss of function. Those things need to be present in order for us to really determine that it is truly an inflammatory process that is going on. In addition, if that's with external exam, in addition, it can be seen with certain imaging, MRIs. You can see, different discolorations and whatnot in the structures, should there be inflammation going on. Oftentimes, though, when it comes to these lingering aches, these problems that have been going on for a long time, maybe it's with high repetition type activities such as throwing. This is a forearm tendonitis, they're saying, so a lot of power goes through that forearm when you're throwing. Not only power, but significant precision and control with the power. There are many, many, many muscles in the forearm. The forearm is a very complex system, which is very fascinating, but there's a lot of moving parts that help move the hand and the wrist and the fingers, all working together through that forearm. And so there's a lot going on during those high, powerful throws. And over time, that can lead to wear and tear. So oftentimes that catch-all term tendonitis really might be referring to what we call a tendinosis. Now, that suffix of osis is referring to like a degeneration of, or breaking down of, as opposed to the itis, which is referring more to inflammation of. So there's a little bit of a distinct difference. Inflammation tends to be very acute. It's a sudden thing, relatively short-lived part of the healing process, natural part of the healing process, that sometimes we do want to reduce and get under control a little bit. But for the most part, we do want to allow it to proceed because it is a natural and vital part of the healing process. So inhibiting it too much can significantly delay the recovery process. However, a tendinosis, that osis suffix meaning more degeneration, that's a breaking down of. That's a wear and tear over time where the tendon weakens. It's not recovering as fast as the stresses that are going on it. And this can often happen with tendons because muscle tissue tends to recover faster than connective tissue. Skin and muscle is very fleshy tissue, lots of blood flow, heals relatively pretty quickly. Tendons and ligaments and other very fibrous tissues, they tend to heal much slower and recover slower. So where your muscles may be recovering from the activity you're doing, your tendons may not quite be recovering. And over time, your muscles are growing and getting stronger, but your tendons may be breaking down and weakening. And that over time can eventually cross that threshold of pain and dysfunction. And eventually, if gone on long enough, can lead the tendon to becoming degenerated, breaking down, and it could eventually lead to a tear. So determining the difference between those two things is so vital because the treatment is very different. The tendinosis requires much more rest, time, and gradual eventual load back to stimulate healing and recovery of that tendon. Very similar to strength training for the muscle, but a slower, more gradual process where we're trying to build it back up again. Whereas a true tendonitis, an inflammation, acute inflammation of the tendon, get the inflammation down, let it heal, let it recover. It's going to go through that healing process in a week or two, start strengthening it back up and get back much more quickly.
I was going to say, it sounds to me a lot like when it comes to this injury for Brad Keller, this is going to be more about him not than doing, right? Like some of it is about just, hey, don't throw a baseball for a while. Don't use your right arm for anything unnecessary, right? It sounds to me like part of his recovery, because, he's on the 10-day injury list. We know it's not literally going to be 10 days he's going to be out, but it sounds to me like part of this process is going to be the way you're describing it. Hey, Brad, don't even touch a baseball. Don't pick it up. Don't put it in your hand. Don't throw a ball. Let's have a period of time to get your body to a point where it has complete and full healing period. Then we'll get back to ramping you back up as a pitcher.
That's correct. Now, from what we know of the situation, he will be getting a thorough assessment evaluation from his healthcare providers. And if they find it to be something different, they will certainly address that. But based on the limited information that we do have, if it does turn out to be a degenerative change type of situation, he would need time to let the tendon calm down and then gradually start building back up that strength with adequate rest, recovery, proper nutrition, proper hydration, making sure he's getting plenty of sleep. All those things are so vitally important, just like any fitness or exercise program to building muscle. It's just a slower, more gradual process. And one big emphasis would also be in what we call eccentric strengthening. It's very, very powerful form of strengthening to fortify tendons. It's where you contract the muscle while it lengthens. So where you're holding dumbbells with your bent elbows and you slowly lower them down rather than pulling them up, that would be an eccentric lift. So that's going to create a tensioning, a lengthening of those structures. And when ready, when the healing is calmed down enough and the tendon's ready, that can be a very powerful method to build significant fortification and resiliency in those tendons long term and start preparing to get back to the field when ready.
Great stuff for Dr. Josh Lamb. Again, Ivy Rehab Physical Therapy Centers. They were my physical therapists. Why I recommend them here on 97.3 ESPN. There were 18 locations around South Jersey. The best-in-class outpatient physical therapy you can find in all of South Jersey is at Ivy Rehab. Dr. Josh, great stuff today. I'm really glad we could have these conversations because it kind of gives the audience a better understanding of what goes into it for the athlete. And like I said, you know what? If you're playing with your kids at the beach, they actually kick you in the back of your calf and, you're not calling Ghostbusters, you're calling Ivy Rehab.
Absolutely. We'll get you in right away. We'll get you feeling better as quickly as possible, as safely as possible, and get you back to doing what you love doing at Ivy Rehab. Thank you so much, Josh. I appreciate the time and being on the program.
Absolutely. Josh Hennig hanging with him, Hennig on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Hey, don't forget, Hanging with Hennig is being brought to you by Caesars Sportsbook, the only sportsbook app offering you Caesars rewards, because every bet you place on every sport does more for you. More perks, more ways to play, more ways to level up your experience like only Caesars Sportsbook can, because you can earn hotel stays, bonus bets, game tickets, and more only with Caesars Sportsbook. Getting started is simple. Download the app. Use my promo code Radio DYW. Then place your first bet of $1 or more for a chance to double your winnings on your next 10 bets. 10 chances to boost your play just for stepping on the field with Caesars Sportsbook. Open to new users in New Jersey who are 21 or older. Max bet at $25 for boosted winnings. Max additional winnings $2,500 per bet. Profit boost tokens expire 14 days after receipt. See Caesars.com/promos for full terms. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, back to text board coming up next. We got Andrew in Summers Point. I also see text from Monday Marcus, Tom from Margate. All you guys coming up next. Don't forget, we'll have more Phillies conversation in the next hour. Frank Klose from 97.3 ESPN.com and the Phillies mailbag will join us at 2 o'clock. And Flyers Talk with Kevin Durso, our Flyers insider from 97.3 ESPN at 2:25. All that and more still to come on Hang with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN.
The NBA Draft on ESPN Radio. Every generation delivers a few. The ones who don't just play the game, they change it.
Dude is a generational talent.
At the top of this draft, the future isn't coming. It's already here.
I play the game the right way. I try to play to win.
The NBA Draft.
The first pick in the NBA Draft.
Tuesday and Wednesday. Coverage begins at 7:30 Eastern on ESPN Radio.
Listen to the NBA Draft on 97.3 ESPN.
From summer parties to beach days, the dinners at your favorite BYOB restaurant, the one stop where I go for every occasion is Boulevard Super Liquors. Located on Roosevelt Boulevard at the foot of the Ocean City 34th Street Bridge, Boulevard Super Liquors has the best selection of craft beer, whiskey, vodka, wines, and tequila in all of South Jersey. Plus, just minutes from Garden State Parkway X25, so you can easily stop into Boulevard Super Liquors as you travel to your destination. These are just some of the reasons why Boulevard Super Liquors is the best at the Jersey Shore. Visit them on Instagram and Facebook to learn more about upcoming tasting events, And don't miss your chance to win a signed Devontae Smith helmet and special prize packages when Hang with Hennig broadcasts live on Friday, July 3rd at Boulevard Super Liquors on Roosevelt Boulevard at the foot of the Ocean City 34th Street Bridge. The best selection of beer and spirits in South Jersey.
Is your trading stopping you from shopping? It's time to drop in some Matt Blatt Nissan.
Are you trapped in your old car? Matt Blatt Nissan and Matt Blatt Infinity can get you out. Get up to $4,000 over Kelly Blue Book Fair Trade value for your old car. Come see us today at Matt Blatt Nissan and Matt Blatt Infinity on the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township.
It's time to drop in some Matt Blatt Nissan.
Next trade from the purchase of select models expires on games.
This feeling is brought to you by Aleve for Arthritis Pain Relief. What feeling is that? Well, it's the feeling you feel when you have relief from arthritis pain. It's that my hands don't hurt just holding things feeling. That, wow, I can actually move well feeling. You know, that go about your day without worrying about every little movement or ache feeling. Oh, yeah. Because Aleve targets arthritis pain at the source of inflammation for long-lasting relief, so you can keep moving through it. Feel up to 12 hours of arthritis pain relief with one dose. Feel Aleve. Use as directed for minor arthritis pain.
Fishing season's here. Get everything you need at the Bait and Tackle Shop at Utch's Marina in historic Cape May. Come to Utch's for a huge selection of spinning and conventional rods and combos for the boat or the surf, with top brands available like Penn, Tsunami, Ocean Max, Shimano, and more. Utch's Marina has all your fishing needs. Live bait, frozen bait, rods, reels, and lures too. Prepare for your next fishing experience. Come see us today at the Bait and Tackle Shop at Utch's Marina, located at the foot of the bridge in Cape May.
Go for the fun times and the tan lines. Experience an Atlantic City you never knew. Go to Ocean. Go for the win. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Okay, class, let's begin.
Psst, love your boots. I just sold a pair like that on eBay.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it took like 2 seconds to list and they sold almost immediately. I've been selling everything lately. Some chunky boots, a faux fur coat I never wore, and a vintage chair that was more of an expensive clothing rack.
You know, I actually bought these on eBay. Wait, are you Kitty Sell Stuff from Brooklyn?
Okay, quiet, please.
Find what you love, sell what you don't. eBay. Things people love.
For over 135 years, First Bank of Sea Isle City has proudly served Cape May County with a commitment to maintaining a hometown feel. We provide secure, convenient deposit and loan products every day. We're more than just a bank. We're a trusted community partner, offering personalized banking solutions that make life easier for local families of all ages. First Bank of Sea Isle City. Look for our lighthouse in your neighborhood and discover what makes us different.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Sound familiar? At Mattress Firm, we understand there are many problems that can keep you up at night, like snoring, aches and pains, or sleeping hot. Our sleep experts have the unrivaled know-how to match you with a mattress that can help. And now at Mattress Firm, upgrade to a Tempur-Pedic and learn how you can get 3% back plus an instant gift. For the great sleep you deserve, visit Mattress Firm. We make sleep easy. Restrictions apply. See store or website for details.
Caesars Sportsbook is the only sportsbook app with Caesars Rewards. Bet every game like a Caesar and earn perks on every bet. Hotel stays, bonus bets, game tickets, all in one app. Download the app with promo code RADIODYW and place your first bet of $1 or more for a chance to double your winnings on your next 10 bet. Open to new users in New Jersey who are 21 or older. Max bet of $25 for boosted winnings. Max additional winnings $2,500 per bet. Profit boost tokens expire 14 days after receipt. See Caesars.com/promos for full terms. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
4th of July savings are happening now at the Home Depot with select appliances starting at $398. Plus, get free delivery on appliance purchases of $398 or more, no membership required. Upgrade your kitchen with a modern and sleek GE Profile refrigerator featuring hands-free autofill for the perfect pour every time. And make laundry day easier with 2-in-1 washer-dryer combo innovation that completes laundry in about 90 minutes. Shop top brand appliances now at the Home Depot. Offer valid June 17th to July at US only. See store online for details.
Cross County Connection presents 6 new South Jersey Connect shuttles, providing fare free transportation across southern New Jersey. New shuttles include Violin to Camden and Route 5440 feeder shuttle, connecting residents to employment centers, colleges, healthcare campuses, retail destinations, government services, and NJ Transit hubs, all at no cost to riders. For more information, contact SJTA at 856-229-7571 or visit online at driveless.com.
Now back to Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN FM.
I stood right there not too long ago, and I told the entire world, I said, call me what you want. Yeah.
And on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
And there's nothing you can do about it, and that's not an insult. That is just a fact of life. Yeah.
Streaming live on YouTube and the X platform.
Josh Hennig back here and Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN. Back to the text board now at 609-403-0973. A lot of text coming in throughout the show and a lot of different topics. Glad to have everybody on board the show. Don't forget, we got more Phillies talk coming up with Frank Klose coming up at 2 p.m. Kevin Durso at 2:25. But right now the text board is open. Andrew in Summers Point chimes in at 609-403-0973. He says, I think that Brendan Sorsby shouldn't get any breaks. I hope that there is not an NFL team that'll take him on. Think of Pete Rose, says Andrew in Summers Point. And I think the Pete Rose is the most famous example, but there's a lot of other examples of athletes who have gambled on their sport, gambled on their team. There is an attitude of, hey, I have inside information. I can make a quick buck off of this. The difference, though, Andrew Summers' point is it really depends on how do you view the claim that Sorsby has an addiction. I think that's where Pete Rose never said he had an addiction. Pete Rose never said that he had a gambling problem. Pete Rose just said that he felt that he always bet that his team was going to win, and so that he managed accordingly. Read into that what you will. Sometimes, you might perform under pressure and stress and anxiety. You might not think straight. So there's a lot of variables that go into it, but I understand what you're saying. In general, we don't give breaks for people who do these things. You think of the guys in recent years who have bet on their own sport. Your Calvin Ridley got suspended for a year, for example, and he didn't bet on his team. He bet on another team, and he got in trouble. So if you're going to be equal, right, all things being equal, if guys like Calvin Ridley and Dante Porter and others have got in trouble for this, there needs to be a level of, for lack of a better term, punishment for Brendan Sorsby. Tom from Margate chimes in at 609-403-0973. Says, hey, Josh, I like the fact that you never try to dodge any issue or tough question. And what you said about Sorsby is not in any way politically incorrect. People who think they are above the law usually are not reliable or trustworthy. Hate to generalize, but my 50 years in the law field is pretty much a good rule of thumb, says Tom in Margate. Well, Tom, first of all, I appreciate you chiming in to the conversation. And I'm glad you mentioned your background in the legal field, because I think that people forget that we don't like to generalize. A lot of this stuff is case by case, okay? Not every case of, for example, sports gambling is exactly the same. Not every case of addiction is the same. Everyone is different. But that, you kind of generalized what I was saying. There is an issue when it comes to reliability and trustworthiness when it comes to Sorsby that I don't think can be ignored. I don't think it can be denied. You heard Emory Hunt say that, they were watching the Texas Tech Nebraska game in the CBS Sports HQ studio, and they were like, is there something fishy going on here? And if they're thinking it and they're wondering it, how do you think his teammates feel? How do you think his coaches feel? I think that's a big part of this conversation. Monday Marcus chimes in at 609-403-0973. He says, Josh, you don't get to hear on Saturday, but good topics. First point, will the talent of Sorsby outweigh what he did, similar to guys with domestic violence, gun charges, etc., when it comes to gambling? The one thing teams won't touch. I will say, to your point, the talent of Sorsby is where the real debate is. People who, like Emory, Hunt, and others who evaluate talent all the time, they don't think Sorsby is like a franchise caliber quarterback. They don't see him as like if Sorsby was in this year's draft, he would not be a first round draft pick. But there are other people who think of Sorsby as this untapped potential. So I think that what's going to happen Monday, Marcus, is that Sorsby is going to be picked up by a team that views his untapped potential as outweighing this gambling addiction issue. Number 2 from Monday, Marcus says, does anyone know who's in the farm system for the Phillies and why do they have a similar problem as the Sixers not developing players and scouting better down there? The Mets let their young pitchers come up and now they're outfielders to see what they have, what they need to acquire other talent. I think that's part of the reason why Gabriel Rincones is here Monday, Marcus, is because they're trying to see what Rincones does or doesn't have, and maybe if he's got enough of something that appeals to another team, you can trade him in a deal. The problem is that the Phillies organization overall is 20th overall. So that means there are 19 baseball teams with better farm systems than the Phillies. There are 19 other teams that have better prospects. So going into the trade deadline, when you're competing for the same crop of talent, right? And you have teams like the Brewers and the Dodgers who are willing to offer much more appealing trade packages, it doesn't matter who you have. And you're right. Maybe there is an issue with development. Maybe it's not just a Dave Dombrowski issue. Maybe the development issue goes back to the Clintack McPhail era. We'll ask Frank Klose more about this coming up on the other side. Of course, Frank Klose known for his Phillies mailbag every week on the Sports Bash with Mike Gill here on 97.3 ESPN. All the Phillies insider coverage at 97.3ESPN.com. More of that conversation on the other side. Josh Hennig hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN.
Sunday morning in the locker room with Billy Schwein, producer Alex Berardis, and my intern Aaron Ewing join me in the studio. The Phillies Mets continue their series, and we'll go on the mound with former Phillies pitcher Tommy Green, brought to you by Blitz's Market of Ocean City. Hour 2, Mr. Negadelphia PJ Quarter checks in, brought to you by the Vassar Pool Service. The Negadelphia will opine on Phillies sports, NBA and NHL draft talk and more. It's the locker room with Billy Schwein, Sunday morning from 10 a.m. to noon on 97.3 ESPN.
Westwood One Sports presents this special report on the 126th U.S. Open Championship, sponsored by Prevagen. Prevagen, made for your brain. This weekend at Shinnecock, Xander Schauffele wants to hunt down Wyndham Clark, a player who has experienced something Schauffele would love to. That's lifting the silver trophy on Sunday night. Schauffele tied for second. He's 4 shots back with the third round on the way.
Anyone that's able to hold this trophy knows how hard it is to win, and to sort of be the last man standing. You're basically going to war every day, and to be the last man standing with your team, I don't know what it feels like, but I can imagine it feels pretty special. So I would love to know what that feels like.
Schauffele does have 7 career top 10s in 9 starts at the U.S. Open. He's in the second to last group, teeing off at 3:34 Eastern. Clark tees off at 3:45. Emiliano Grillo, the only player making a move right now, 3 under through 13. He's even par. I'm Ted Emmerich, Westwood One Sports.
Liberty Mutual customize this song for you. Like your car insurance, it's custom too, yeah. Liberty Mutual's got the coverage that could save you money. Thanks to Doug and Limu, well now you can go and take that cruise. Liberty, 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 yeah.
This is the story of the one who keeps multiple buildings running smoothly day after day. Plumbing that flows, HVAC that hums, cleaning supplies that keep surfaces sparkling. That's why she counts on Grainger. With easy reordering online and 24/7 support, Grainger helps her keep the products she needs on hand. So shelves stay stocked and buildings stay ready. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Is your trading stopping you from shopping? It's time to drop in some Matt Blatt Nissan.
Are you trapped in your old car? Matt Blatt Nissan Nissan and Matt Blatt Infinity can get you out. Get up to $4,000 over Kelly Blue Book fair trade value for your old car. Come see us today at Matt Blatt Nissan and Matt Blatt Infinity on the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township.
It's time to drop in some Matt Blatt Nissan.
Next trade toward the purchase of select models expires within. 4th of July savings are happening now at the Home Depot with select appliances starting at $398. Plus, get free delivery on appliance purchases of $398 or more, no membership required. Upgrade your kitchen with a modern and sleek GE Profile refrigerator featuring hands-free autofill for the perfect pour every time. And make laundry day easier with 2-in-1 washer-dryer combo innovation that completes laundry in about 90 minutes. Shop top brand appliances now at the Home Depot. Offer valid June 17th to July 8th. U.S. only. See store online for details.
Ventnor Social is Down Beach's go-to place for game days. No shower happy hours, beach nights, live music, great food, cold drinks, and being social. From cheering on Phillies baseball team, international soccer matches, and other sports action on their 20 big screen TVs, to enjoying a cold beverage on the roof deck or playing an arcade game, you're sure to have fun. And grab a pie to go at their sister restaurant next door, Santucci's Original Square Pizza. Get to Ventnor Social on Ventnor Avenue in Ventnor.
When it comes to injuries, you can't afford to get it wrong. Insurance companies, they delay, deny, and pay as little as possible. Who's on your side? The law offices of Craig A. Altman. Car accidents, slip and falls, serious workplace injuries. They build cases to put real pressure on the other side. And you pay nothing unless they win. Don't guess, don't wing it. Call 856-327-8899 or visit CraigAltmanLaw.com. Local office in Vineland, backed by a Philly firm that knows how to win.
Home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
They've got him. It's a sack.
Sixers.
Oh, baby.
And Flyers.
He scored!
97.3 ESPN. WENJ. WENJ HD. Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey.
Finally!
This is Hanging with Hennig.
I have friends everywhere.
On 97.3 ESPN Radio, South Jersey.
In New Jersey. Am I right? Yeah.
Live feed on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
It seems to run on some form of electricity. Well, you're not wrong.
Streaming live on YouTube, Instagram, and the X platform.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together.
Now, here's your host.
He's not gone. That's the whole point. He's never gone.
Josh Hennig.
Hour 3 of Hanging with Hennig here on 97.3 ESPN, streaming live on YouTube and X at Josh Hennig in the Dr. Squatch virtual studios. Get the more your text coming up in just a bit at 609-403-0973. Plenty of fun conversation being had today on 97.3 ESPN. But we're going to continue the Phillies conversation. Phillies, they're in a predicament right now. So we get more into who and what the Phillies are as of June 20th. Frank Klose, of course, the Phillies mailbag each and every week with Mike Gill on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN on Tuesday afternoons. And check out all of his Phillies coverage over at 97.3 ESPN.com. And Frank joins us here on his Hanging with Hennig Saturday, 97.3 ESPN. Frank, welcome in. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you, Josh?
I'm doing good. And I want to start with this. So Monday Marcus just asked a question before you came on. I kind of want to repurpose it for you. He asked the question, why does it seem like the Phillies do a poor job at evaluating and developing their young talent? And I think it's a fair question to ask because there's a lot of people now say, hey, they brought Andrew Painter up maybe too quickly. What is going on with the farm system? Why don't they have the type of plethora of prospects that like the Brewers or Dodgers have? So what is your perspective on the development or lack of development in the Phillies organization?
Well, a lot of it had to do with the Phillies trying to basically buy their way out of that failed Clintack era rebuild, right? So during the Clintack and McPhail era, they tried to rebuild the farm system. They had top draft picks, and they ended up drafting the likes of Mickey Moniak and Adam Haseley. And what ended up happening when Dave Dombrowski came around, he had to spend his way out of it. And that led to forfeiting draft picks by signing free agents. And that led to trading some of your system to add major league talent. And the Phillies have done a lot of additions that way. And unfortunately, they haven't been able to develop prospects as quickly. Now, there are definitely some disappointments in this Phillies system right now. You look at someone. I'm just trying to go through the list quickly in my head, But they traded a couple of them last year for Joan Duran, of course, right?
Mick Abel and Eduardo Tellez.
Yeah, right. So a year ago you felt okay. Starling Caba to get Jesus Luzardo, right? So it's not without consequence. A lot of these teams aren't trading. Like you mentioned, the Brewers, they've done a good job of trading major league talent before they hit free agency, get something back, and then meanwhile they're holding on to their own. So for example, trading Freddie Peralta to the Mets. That was a good trade. They made a really good trade with Boston, got a couple of good pieces. So, there are teams like that are less financially able to spend money. And so they've really been ahead of it. The Phillies, they re-sign a lot of their own players. Like the Milwaukee Brewers, like Kyle Schwarber would have been traded before last year, right? They would have gotten some prospects back, and then they wouldn't have had the money to spend to re-sign him. And so you get talent coming in, you get draft picks when people leave in free agency. And so the way the Phillies have had to compete really since Dave Dombrowski took over just kind of leaves you at a little bit of a hole. And unfortunately, when some don't hit that you expect to hit, Aiden Miller getting hurt, that's a frustration, right? That could have been another near major league ready talent available. The Phillies have a starting pitcher named Gene Cabrera, who for all thoughts of all those scouts, they thought he would have been ready to help the Phillies this year. Well, he ended up getting demoted down to Double-A. He didn't make the step up. And then in between Cabrera, who's now the number 13 prospect, and number 1, which is Miller, there's just not a lot that seems like it's going to impact the team sooner than later. I mean, probably the best prospect right now is Gage Wood, drafted last year, already at Double-A. Outside shot, he can help them in the bullpen down the stretch, but you go to the next best prospect they have, you're looking at Francisco Renteria, who's 17 years old.
When you think about, you just mentioned about Gage Wood, right? The Phillies organization, it's not that they have 0 players on them. They just have 0 players that seem ready, right? They have a lot of guys like your Arun Escobar's, Edgar Renteria's kid. He's about 5 years away, basically, I believe. So, I mean, it's not that they have 0 talent, Frank. It's just that they don't have any talent going to help them right now. And I think the rub is that the fans are like, well, if they're not helping us, trade them. So how do you balance between, hey, we need help versus don't sacrifice the future?
It's tough. I mean, they've, like I said, they've converted a lot of their prospects in recent years to major league talent. And of course, Painter and Crawford graduated and they became part of their major league roster, right? So it's almost like you have to either be going for it or in rebuild. It's really hard to do both at the same time, to go all in. So without trading some pieces and getting some talent back, I mean, I just go, if you look at the MLB pipeline top 30 on MLB.com, I mean, the top 30 prospects are very, very thin at the upper levels. They have an ETA marker on each of them as to what year you expect them to rise to the major leagues. And if you're looking for 2026, they have Miller listed at 2026, Rincone's listed at 2026. He's already there. Gene Cabrera, who I said went backwards instead of forward. Maybe you'll see Alex McFarland. He's kind of been dominant at Double-A. I could see him rising up to the majors. And then Keaton Anthony, who's needs a position, but he was injured. Maybe you remember him from he's a very marginal prospect, to use a prospect word, but he was looking good last year, came to spring training. It kind of seemed like this was a great opportunity for him to show that he could maybe, 1, learn the outfield, and 2, maybe stick around. But he got hurt. He broke his foot like the second week of March. And so he's finally back at it, but he hasn't played the outfield yet. So you really have a situation where there's just not much ready to rise. Now, look, I think the Phillies can make plenty of trades trading from like Class A. I think Dante Nori, who really turned some heads at the World Baseball Classic this year for Team Italy, I think he's probably the one they're most likely to trade this deadline to get something back. But beyond that, I just thinking from the perspective of the other team, most teams that have something really good to trade, they are looking for either salary relief, and I don't know if the Phillies can take on much more salary at this point, or they're looking for players that can impact them in the near future. So I don't think they like last year, the Twins, they could put Mick Abel right into the rotation. And then they did have someone else for later too in the deal, but there's nobody in this system that you think, oh man, if they make a trade with the Phillies, we can plug him right in at the major league level. There just isn't that player.
To exemplify your point, for those who are watching on YouTube and X, I put the Phillies 2 through 12 prospect from pipeline, and you can see what you just said, Frank. 2027, 2031, 2028, 2027. I mean, Rincones is here now, so, that kind of doesn't go. But your point being, these guys are so far down the road, and, it's not listed there. I guess I got to scroll down for that would be McFarland, because I feel like McFarland, there's Gene Cabrera right there. McFarland's a guy that people have talked about a lot as well. So, but again, you mentioned Cabrera. He's listed this year, but he just got demoted. You see it there, 2028, 2028, 2027. McFarland is down there at 17. He's listed for this year, but he's still at AA. So, again, there's this strange situation where you want, as a fan, the Phillies to do something. You want this team to be better. You're tired of hearing Dave Dombrowski say, we have a good club. But then at the same time, it's like, yeah, but if you make a trade, who are you trading? Does anybody want them?
Yeah, and really, there's a lot of holes on this roster. I mean, I think the Phillies acknowledge their biggest flaw, and that is they don't have an impact right-handed bat. They acknowledged it by going after Bo Bichette in the offseason, so they kind of let it be known to everybody. That was not a secret to anybody, right? So I think what happened was after that failed, they brought Real Muto back, who still gives them a lot of good things. I'm not trying to demean Real Muto, but he is older, right? So you wonder how long he can go. And they never really got that bad. They kind of said, all right, well, we'll give Otto Kemp a shot, and then if he doesn't work out, we'll figure it out at the deadline. But it's really hard to do that right now. I mean, there's a dearth of right-handed bats out there, period, in Major League Baseball. The right-handed power bat is kind of a lost art. And so if there's not many to begin with, and you have probably a lot of other teams looking for the same thing, I just don't know what the Phillies have to trade for somebody of impact. Now they could, here's the thing, they could take money back from somebody. I mean, the Giants have a few right-handed bats, all high-paid starters in the major leagues. I don't know how you can take one of those salaries given the Phillies' financial constraints at the moment. I mean, you just can't spend forever. The Phillies have a ton of long-term big dollar contracts. I don't know how they could take another one on. So it's kind of tough. I mean, if they're willing to take a contract, I'd feel a lot better of them getting one of those bats.
Talking with Frank Klose, of course, here's Phillies mailbag segment each week with Mike Gill on the Sports Bash on Tuesday afternoons on 97.3 ESPN. 97.3ESPN.com is where you check out all of Frank's coverage of the Phillies. So let's get to the team on the field. They had a day off yesterday because of the World Cup. This weekend, they got the Mets. And if we're being honest, Frank, the loss on Thursday was a bit deflating because Aaron Nola was not bad. He did not do a bad job. It's just that the rest of the team was unable to step up. How concerned are we about the bullpen right now? Brad Keller's on the injured list. Alvarado is struggling. Banks got demoted. It's starting to look like this bullpen, which we thought might be a strength coming into this year, is now I don't know. Is it a flat tire? Is it we need to change out the transmission? Like what do we do with the bullpen here?
Yeah, it's. I will say they had a pretty nice stretch for a while of late, and then they just sort of hit a wall again. A lot of times with relievers, they're on and off. Right, they have good years, and then they fall apart, and then they have a good year again. Right. I mean, most of them don't have the consistency of a Joan Duran. Now, I will say, any team that has Joan Duran, you feel pretty good about, right? So you know that he'll get the last three outs. One of the advantages to this Phillies team is that when Zach Wheeler, when Christopher Sanchez, when Jesus Luzardo all pitch, you might only need one inning in between them and Duran. So that's the good news, right? So they will win a lot of games, but I think Tanner Banks and Jose Alvarado have been really disappointing this year. Yes. Last year, it seemed like Banks sort of had a little breakout season. I was even shocked he still had an option left on his contract. I mean, he had been in the major leagues for quite a while now. He came over from a trade with the White Sox. I would have thought that he would have been out of options right now. And this is really, at least on paper, his worst season he's had in the major leagues. So I was expecting more from him. And Jose Alvarado, they spent the money and picked up his option when a lot of people thought they would just let it go. And so, yeah, that's pretty disappointing too. You tend to think that he might be able to work through some of this. They can't option him to the minor leagues like they did Banks. So they have to figure that out with him on the major league roster. And then Brad Keller is just he's been all over the place with his command. I was really excited to see the Phillies add him. I thought he would have been a really dynamic back end arm, and he's kind of let them down. So that said, you've gotten a lot out of Tim Meza. I think Tim Meza is going to have to help towards the back end more now. Tim Meza is a good story. He had a lot of good years with the Blue Jays, and so Phillies picked him up on a minor league deal. I didn't think he would even make the opening day roster. I thought he was the kind of player that, based on his track record, just stash at AAA and then you call him up when you need him. But he made the roster, and he's been one of the more consistent arms. And Chase Sugart's had some good moments. And by the way, Jonathan Boland, who they got from Matt Strahm, is kind of coming into his own. So I think those guys you're going to need a little bit more out of right now, and you feel pretty good about it. And Kirkering's had a really good year. I know they put him in recently to that game that he would not normally appear in, but he just wasn't getting work, so he kind of had to burn some innings and wasn't as sharp. But I think there's enough there to get by, provided that you'll see Brad Keller get better. I think you'll see some strides from Kirkering, but I'm worried a little bit about the left side and what the left side can do with Banks falling apart and with Alvarado not being that great this year. So that's a little bit of a concern. But again, when you consider the starters, you consider Duran, that's a very small gap in between, especially when you get to the playoffs, because you won't need that many innings from your bullpen.
The other problem with this team is they obviously have an issue in the lineup beyond Marsh and Harper and Schwarber. I mean, Bohm has played well, hit well since May 1st, so you got that going for you. Stott has had his moments, right? He's not been, elite, but he's had his moments of production. But, without Garcia, you lose a potential right-handed power bat in the lineup. Rincones, he's a nice player, but I don't think he's the long-term solution necessarily in right field. Trey Turner, he's an absolute dumpster fire. And JT Realmuto is overpaid to come back here. And so now you're in this predicament where, it is the solution, as Dave Dombrowski said in the past, the idea that these guys will start playing up to their potential, or Frank, is it about time that they address the right-handed bat predicament through the trades?
They have to. I mean, Todd Zalecki recently was opining that the Phillies are probably going to make a trade like they made in recent years, getting a Harrison Bader or an Austin Hayes, the kind that's going to come in and bat against left-handed pitching, and that's it. But, Phillies need a couple of them. I mean, Edmundo Sosa is playing way too much. In fact, by him playing left field, they're losing him at second base on days that you don't want Bryson Stott against a tough lefty. So, yeah, they need some right-handed help, and really with three catchers on the roster, they're still wasting a roster spot. Hate to call it a waste, but it's just an unnecessary thing that the Phillies have right now. I think they were worried about cutting a catcher because they didn't have any depth at AAA. Rene Pinto's back. He's been up since probably about 10 days now at AAA. He's your depth at AAA. If you're really worried about Garrett Stubbs not getting through waivers, I think it's safer now. But they have to figure out who to put in that spot. I mean, Christian Cairo is the son of Miguel Cairo. He's at AAA. He's on the 40-man roster. I think you could see him at some point, just to be sort of a play around the diamond kind of guy that Moore was supposed to be at the beginning of the year. So but that's not kind of the solution. You're still kind of mixing around the parts that you have, and it's a real shame too, because at AAA you've got Felix Reyes, who's still hitting a ton of home runs, and like I mentioned Keaton Anthony a little while ago. Neither of them really have a position, so first base and DH are taken. So I don't know how you get those bats there to help you. So they're in a bit of a predicament. They're going to have to be creative here. And I think they really should ask themselves, are we willing to take some money back? And I mean, that's a question for ownership. Next year's uncertain, potential's lockout. I don't know that there's any guarantee that they're going to play on time next year. So, I mean, do you want to go for it? Are you afraid of the repercussions of adding more money, especially after there's a new deal? There's a lot of big questions that are beyond probably beyond the baseball operations department here that are up for the owners. But I mean, I hate to say it, but it's usually not sustainable, but they probably have to spend their way out of this. I can't think of any other way.
Absolutely. He's Frank Klose, of course, the Phillies mailbag each Tuesday afternoon on the Sports Bash with Mike Gill at Frank Klose with a K on the X platform for all of your Phillies questions to ask. He's our Phillies insider at 97.3 ESPN.com. He joined us here on Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN. Frank, appreciate making the time today.
Good to talk to you.
Josh Hennig hanging with Hennig here on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Streaming live on YouTube and X in the Dr. Squatch virtual studio. In this hour of Hanging with Hennig being brought to you by the law offices of Craig A. Altman. Everywhere I've gone over the last weeks, and I do a lot of driving for work here at 97.3 ESPN, not just to and from home, but for other events as well. And the one thing I run into all the time are car accidents. If you get into a car accident, you can't just hope the insurance company is going to fulfill their agreement because they have a game plan. It's called delay, deny, pay as little as possible. So you need to call the law offices of Craig A. Altman at 856-327-8899. They're located right here in South Jersey in Vineland, which means you're not going to be calling up an injury lawyer or some random television guy that you saw and then get shuttled off to some random lawyer you never heard of. No. When you call the law offices of Craig A. Altman at 856-327-8899, you get the tough lawyers who can handle the tough cases who are right here in South Jersey. Backed by a Philly law firm that knows how to win. Delsey Drive in Vineland, where the offices are located, or you can get a free consultation right now at CraigAltmanLaw.com. So whether it's a car accident, a slip and fall, a workplace injury, the law offices of Craig A. Altman are here to help you. And you pay nothing unless they win. CraigAltmanLaw.com is where you go for your free consultation. We're going to go to the ice coming up next. We are less than a week away from the NHL draft. And our Flyers insider, Kevin Durso from 97.3 ESPN.com, will join us next to give us insight on the Flyers this offseason. What does the trade mean for the draft and free agency? Kevin Durso answers those questions and more next on 97.3 ESPN.
The NBA Draft on ESPN Radio. Every generation delivers a few. The ones who don't just play the game, they change it.
Dude is a generational talent.
At the top of this draft, the future isn't coming. It's already here.
I play the game the right way. I try to play to win.
The NBA Draft.
The first pick in the NBA Draft.
Tuesday and Wednesday. Coverage begins at 7:30 Eastern on ESPN Radio.
Listen to the NBA Draft on 97.3 ESPN.
From summer parties to beach days to dinners at your favorite BYOB restaurant, the one stop where I go for every occasion is Boulevard Super Liquors. Located on Roosevelt Boulevard at the foot of the Ocean City 34th Street Bridge, Boulevard Super Liquors has the best selection of craft beer, whiskey, vodka, wines, and tequila in all of South Jersey. Plus, just minutes from Garden State Parkway X25, so you can easily stop into Boulevard Super Liquors as you travel to your destination. These are just some of the reasons why Boulevard Super Liquors is the best at the Jersey Shore. Visit them on Instagram and Facebook to learn more about upcoming tasting events. And don't miss your chance to win a signed Devontae Smith helmet and special prize packages when Hang with Hennig broadcasts live on Friday, July 3rd at Boulevard Super Liquors on Roosevelt Boulevard at the foot of the Ocean City 34th Street Bridge. The best selection of beer and spirits in South Jersey.
Fishing season's here. Get everything you need at the Bait and Tackle Shop at Utch's Marina in historic Cape May. Come to Utch's for a huge selection of spinning and conventional rods and combos for the boat or the surf with top brands available like Penn, Tsunami, Ocean Max, Shimano, and more. Utch's Marina has all your fishing needs. Live bait, frozen bait, rods, reels, and lures too. Prepare for your next fishing experience. Come see us today at the Bait and Tackle Shop at Utch's Marina, located at the foot of the bridge in Cape May.
From the FIFA World Cup to competitive business environments, grand ambitions lead to game-changing achievements. At Bank of America, we're there to support businesses at every step, providing insights and expertise to help you gain an edge.
He shoots, he scores!
What would you like the power to do? Explore winning business solutions at BofA.com/gamechangers. Bank of America, official bank of the FIFA World Cup 2026.
This Father's Day, skip the tie and find something at Target he'll really love. Is he into a fresh look? Don't miss 40% off Goodfellow polos and shorts so he can give that one shirt a break. Maybe he's in chill mode. Buy two, get one free on music and books. Perfect for a night in, his way. Or go with a men's fragrance from $29.99, the kind he didn't know he needed and won't stop wearing. Make Dad's Day, only at Target. Restrictions apply.
Sound familiar? At Mattress Firm, we understand there are many problems that can keep you up at night, like snoring, aches and pains, or sleeping hot. Our sleep experts have the unrivaled know-how to match you with a mattress that can help. And now at Mattress Firm, upgrade to a Tempur-Pedic and learn how you can get 3% back plus an instant gift. For the great sleep you deserve, visit Mattress Firm. We make sleep easy. Restrictions apply. See store or website for details.
Caesars Sportsbook is the only sportsbook app with Caesars Rewards. Bet every game like a Caesar and earn perks on every bet. Hotel stays, bonus bets, game tickets, all in one app. Download the app with promo code RADIODYW and place your first bet of $1 or more for a chance to double your winnings on your next 10 bet. Open to new users in New Jersey who are 21 or older. Max bet of $25 for boosted winnings. Max additional winnings $2,500 per bet. Profit boost tokens expire 14 days after receipt. See Caesars.com/promos for full terms. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Now back to Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN FM.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
And on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
Streaming live on YouTube, Instagram, and the X platform.
Hanging with Hennig here on 97.3 ESPN. And of course, Hanging with Hennig being brought to you by Cross County Connection, presenting 6 new SJ Connect shuttles, providing fare free transportation across southern New Jersey. Connect to jobs, colleges, healthcare, shopping, government services, and NJ Transit hubs, all at no cost to riders. For details, call 856-229-7571 or visit driveless.com. Kevin Durso, our Flyers insider from 97.3 ESPN.com, joins us right now as we are less than a week away from the NHL draft. But we're also a few days removed from the Flyers making a trade. To get into what all that means right now, Kevin Durso joins us here on Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN. Kevin, welcome back. How you doing today?
Doing well, Josh. How are you?
I'm doing good. So let's start with the trade, because I think a lot of people, I think it's fair to say people did not necessarily see this trade coming, right? You know, Sam Harrison was a guy people assumed was going to be the backup goaltender, or at least the 1B moving forward, but now he's gone. You have a new backup in Wall, but you also bring in this new defenseman. And I think we all can agree that Benoit is a legitimate upgrade over Emil Andre. So when this trade happened, what does it say to you about the Flyers moving forward?
Yeah, so the Benoit thing is interesting to me, and I heard you guys talking about it the day that it happened. To me, Benoit, it's a relatively lateral move here in terms of role. Andre wasn't necessarily a set figure of the top 6. There's no guarantees Benoit is going to be either. You really have your 5 solidified top 5 guys right now at present anyway. Things can change quickly, obviously, but Sanheim, Ristolainen, York, Drysdale, who will be re-signed at some point during the offseason, and Nick Seeler. Those are the 5 guys that were pretty much the regulars. And then that 6th spot was kind of left for Andre got in, Noah Juleson got in, and a wave of other young prospects that were kind of getting a chance toward the end of the season. In fact, the last game that the Flyers played in the playoffs, it was Oliver Bonk in that spot. Now you get a guy who adds to that. Like, to me, Benoit is kind of the Juleson replacement in this. Can play the 6, might be a 7, It's not necessarily going to upgrade your top 5. It's meant to give you depth, and it's meant to give you depth in an area where you have a defined profile of those guys. They had enough small guys, basically. They didn't want to put a lineup together where York's an undersized defenseman, Drysdale's an undersized defenseman, Andre's an undersized defenseman. Okay, 2 is okay. As the Carolina Hurricanes proved to you, you can have 2 guys in your 6. 3 is starting to push it a little bit in the size conversation. So that's where Benoit comes in. But the headliner of the deal was Joseph Woll, because you make a direct and clear improvement at backup goalie. We had talked throughout the course of the end of the season that for all that Sam Ersson did in the second half post-Olympic break and how well he played, what would it have been like if you got that version of a goaltender as your backup for the whole season? Are we talking about a playoff clincher with 2 games to go in the regular season or 2 weeks to go in the regular season? It might have changed things. They were able to make an upgrade, and this is the best way I can put it to you for looking at Woll's numbers. If you looked at the 2 side by side, Woll and Ersson actually had the better goals against average, which is saying a lot because Ersson's numbers weren't great this year. So Woll has a 3.34 goals against last season. But context matters. He played for one of the worst teams in the league. He played for a team that had really no structure for the second half of the season. And as a result of that, it can hurt your numbers. His save percentage was .899. Sam Ersson's was a league worst .870. So you just upgraded your save percentage by nearly 3%. And to give you more context on Woll's usage versus somebody like Ersson as a typical backup or somebody who played in tandem, Dan Vladar played 13 more games than Woll did, so as the Flyer starter. In 52 games, compared to 39 for Woll, Woll only faced 63 fewer shots than Vladar did in the season and still had a save percentage that was not that far off from what Vladar had, despite the fact that he played on a worse team. And the way to look at it is that Dan Vladar can have the save percentage and goals against he does by making 18 saves on 20 shots. That gives you a 900 save percentage. You know how you also get a 900 save percentage? By making 36 saves on 40 shots, and there's where your 4 goals against per game comes from. So it seems like Woll was just extra busy with a team that had no structure, and maybe if you can put him on a team with some more defensive structure like the Flyers had to make the playoffs, he faces fewer shots, his numbers still look good, the goals against drops, and you have a suitable backup for sure.
All right, so let me round this in the form here because you kind of gave the audience a lot of information there. So, the Woll is obviously upgraded by Ersson when it comes to the backup goaltender. Okay, you got that going for you. And you mentioned about Toronto. Toronto had so many injuries last year, and they had so little depth behind those injuries that they were basically just crumbling downhill. And for those who don't know, they basically fired all the brain trust in Toronto and rehashed the coach, the GM, and so Toronto has just completely upended everything in their organization. I feel like that's part of the reason why this trade happened. Right? Is the Toronto side of it is. They have a new fresh start in their organization. So they're trying to get a fresh start in terms of the players in their organization. And that brings us to the Benoit question, because you brought up the fact that, after the first 4, 5, 6 guys, who was next? And I look at Benoit as a guy that he's not a 1A, but if you put him with the right guy, let's say on your second or third line, he could be a very good quality player, right?
It's possible. There hasn't been as much to indicate that over the course of his career. Like, he's not an offensive dynamo, so you're going to probably want to put him with somebody who has some offensive chops. Now, I don't find that to be Nick Seeler by any stretch if it was third pairing, so now you're starting to teeter into some of those other guys. Maybe you rearrange the whole thing. The interesting part to me about them acquiring Benoit, and first of all, you're right about Toronto's aspect of it, because Toronto, not only are they looking for fresh start, this is the first move their new GM, John Chayka, made, essentially. And it was followed up with by basically taking on 2 contracts from the Flyers that are non-existent at the moment. They are both RFAs, so they need contracts. They freed up the cap space to do what they did yesterday, which is sign and trade for Darren Radish, who is going to be the top free agent defenseman on the market. So that's where that came from. That's where that was the setup for Toronto being able to do that. And in the Flyers case, the interesting thing to me about what the Flyers are doing is they get Benoit, they add to their defensive depth, and they have the ability to play with that throughout the course of it. This sounds like it is far from over for them working their defense in the offseason, because there's just too much noise with other players out there. Now, the easy The easy one is to look at free agency and look at John Carlson and say, here's a guy, if you want to spend money on somebody, you can go get a guy who has more of that offensive-minded side, throw him on your power play, pretty much directly address an area that needs improvement, and then shuffle everybody else down. And also from that, who knows what happens to the guys we were already talking about that are established. There's been a lot of talk about if they bring in another defenseman who can be in the top 4, is Ristolainen more expendable, and could they use him to improve the forward group and so on. So Carlson's the easy one. But then there's rumors about Darnell Nurse, who just requested a trade from Edmonton. There's rumors about Bowen Byram in Buffalo and the idea that he could be available, and he's somebody that the Flyers have had known interest in for several years. And to me, like, the thing about all three of those, and we can discuss that as we go along, but those are the links to it. It's the fact that they're all defensemen and there's noise, and the Flyers are seemingly linked to all of these guys, that tells me they're not satisfied with the 6 that they have. And that includes by adding Benoit. They're not done just because they added one defenseman who kind of can fill the bottom part of that group. They want to do more than that. So I think there's a clear emphasis, not only emphasis on, okay, you addressed the backup goalie thing. These are your 2 guys, as far as I'm concerned, going in, because you traded for a guy with 2 years of term. I think if you were debating whether or not he was your guy next year, you would have gone in and picked a guy with 1 year left on his contract, or somebody you had to sign, or just waited to free agency. They got a guy with term who apparently they've had interest in for a while. So I think your goaltenders are set, and now they're working the defense and trying to work the forwards as well, and kind of taking inventory of what's available out there, what they have available, and what they can do to make the team better.
Talk with Kevin Durso, our Flyers insider from 97.3 ESPN.com, at Kevin_Durso on the X platform, joining us here on Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN. So now, you just mentioned about the defense. So how does the defenseman side of the conversation impact next weekend's draft? Because the Flyers have already traded away 1 draft pick to make this move to add their defense, right? So do you look at next weekend's draft as, is it just a focus on prospects? Is it another opportunity for them to make more trades? What is your analysis of the next step for the Flyers?
Yeah, it's tough to read at the moment, because this is rare territory for the Flyers. For several years, we've gone into this weekend, that upcoming weekend with the draft, and talked about 8, 9, 10 picks sometimes. And the focus is very clearly, when that happens, there's always the opportunity to spend on something if you want to make the team better now. But really, usually, if you've acquired that many picks, the focus is on prospects. After making the trade they did with Toronto this week, they now have 4 picks in this year's draft, and 2 of them are 6th and 7th round. So they kind of are usually, that's kind of throwing a dart at the wall and hoping something sticks. The 1st and the 2nd are really the only things of significant value that they even have. I kind of get the sense that if they could avoid doing it, they wouldn't move them, just to have something to come away from this draft class with. But you never know. I mean, the 1st is obviously going to be the most valuable thing that they have. They also have, well, they assume they have the 1st round pick of Toronto next year. The league has kind of been still a little vague on it. They claim it's Philadelphia's, but Toronto has the ability to shift that around. So without having certainty, I don't know how you move a pick like that, but they could certainly attempt to. I guess as long as it's not anybody in Toronto's division, they might feel safe. That seems to be the consensus, that if the choice is for Toronto between giving the 1st rounder unprotected to Philadelphia or Boston, a team in their own division, I think they'll choose Philadelphia just to not have to deal with it. But I think that they, right now, with how limited of draft assets they have this year, would probably want to just keep what they have. But given the fact that you do still have your 1st and your 2nd, that can create some movement in some ways. I think they're kind of primed for, and it's not exactly like, once you get out of the top 10 of a draft, it's usually kind of more guesswork in terms of what you've done for your own research as a team, not necessarily consensus picks. So they might look to trade down. Honestly, they might have a guy that they think is worthy of 21 that ends up sitting there until 30. And when it gets to their turn, they go, we'll take our chances that he's still there 3-4 picks later. Let's trade down and get another 2nd rounder or something. Like, they might try to recoup some draft picks that way. But there's always the chance that they go out there and they try to talk to one of these teams about what's available, and a 1st round pick is something worth trading. It's why I said, like, when you think about all the defensemen that are available, John Carlson's the easiest to acquire as a free agent, and you don't have to give up anything other than using your cap space. But is that the best solution out there? I kind of, once Bowen Byram's name came into the conversation also this week, it was kind of like, that gives me Trevor Zegras vibes. Like if you could put together a package that gets him into town and sign him to a long-term extension, he's 25. He's in the same age range and kind of looking for that next step in his career. I could see that being something that works out favorably for the Flyers. I certainly don't feel like you're going to go out and acquire Darnell Nurse and say that's the headliner of your defensive upgrades. I don't see that. But if you were to do something else and Nurse, I can be talked into that a little more. But right now, their draft outlook has to be kind of just dealing with the picks they have and keeping in mind that while there's limited choices that for them, limited selections for them after all the moves they've made, you still have to be open to things because you're in the territory where you've kind of already, with this first trade, set the bar for you're trying to improve. It's very clear that if you're linked to other players who may be on market and you've acquired a goaltender that makes you better, you're trying to improve. So making all the selections, I mean, they can make their selections. There's only 4 of them. It's not like it's a huge deal. But if they were to not make those selections and try to get better, you've kind of already started down that path.
Which leads us to the final thing before I let you go, because you just mentioned about other upgrades. Well, one of those upgrades is obviously the conversation has been not just on June 20th. It's been for the last several years, Kevin. It's center, right? You know, they still need help in the middle of a lot of these lines. So how do you think the Flyers are going to juggle hey, we got to improve defense, but we also need to get more bona fide centermen for this team. So when we get to September, right, when we get to training camp, we're not asking guys to play out of position again.
Exactly. And to me, it's the domino effect of things. Okay, so you went out, you made this first trade, you address the goaltender right away. Now there's all the conversation about defensemen, but every conversation that I see that involves a defenseman immediately involves, if they could get this guy, then Ristolainen becomes expendable and you could go get a center. So like, if that's the conversation, there's been some talk about how Ottawa's interested in Ristolainen, and Ottawa has 3 centers that they probably can't afford to keep long-term. You could look at Shane Pinto, Dylan Cousins, Ridley Gregg. I think their focus would be on the first 2. It would be on either Cousins or Pinto, because they've had known interest in Pinto before. Cousins has really evolved his game to be that more of a two-way guy, but more of a play driver this year. He had some really good numbers, and you're kind of trying to every time when we get to the end of a season, right? Especially and you got to, as I wrote last week, you got an up close look at the team that ultimately won it all this year because you played them in the playoffs. That team in Carolina does not necessarily have a true superstar at the top. They don't have they have clear-cut defined roles, but like they don't have a McDavid, they don't have a McKinnon, they don't have one of those guys. They have their guys that have been there for a long time and kind of proved that if you have the sum of the parts and not necessarily one guy who drives it, you can still win in this league. So maybe the Flyers version of upgrading center is not trying to put all of your eggs into the idea of, I'm going to see if Toronto budges on the idea of moving Austin Matthews. And if they do, I'll throw as much as I can at him to get a guy who's a big name. Maybe the real right direction for upgrading your center is getting somebody who naturally fits into your top 6, which shouldn't be difficult to do. And trying to, as you do that, trying to continue to evolve Trevor Zegras' role as a potential center, and continuing to move guys down like Sean Couturier, like Noah Cates, and have them be the role-playing depth centers in your lineup while you are waiting for everybody else who could be in your system, or maybe another pick down the line or anything like that, or waiting for free agency another year. You can still try to improve and utilize the cap space you have and get guys who are in that age range. I think the thing for the Flyers to do, and I know Dylan Larkin's name's been out there, and the Flyers are going to be interested in anybody who's available, I would say. Like, you're going to hear them be involved with everybody, but I'm less likely to go after somebody who's closer to 30 and try to find that Zegras trade they had last year. You get a guy who's 24 looking for a fresh start. If the Flyers really want to go down a road that they've been down many times before, Mason McTavish is another name who's out there who plays for, you guessed it, the Anaheim Ducks, who they have made deals with in the past and have seen those things come to fruition with players who change scenery, get some development. start to improve. Could be a guy who you could grab at 23 years old and say, let's get this guy on the right path and turn him into the player everybody thought he could be to begin with. So that's kind of where I look for the Flyers to address center, is to try to find one of those deals. They're not going to find it in free agency, I can tell you that. And they're not going to necessarily find it in-house, because I just don't think they're going to make that many changes to what they have in-house. I think a lot of what you're going to see is guys like Jetlachenko probably could use a year in the minors first, and you want to fill out your roster. That's why Christian Dvorak's back. That's why you're going to have Noah Cates, Sean Couturier on the roster again, just like before, and you're probably going to see them continue to work Trevor Zegras. But if you could add somebody else at that position and not necessarily sacrifice too much of your current roster to do it, I wouldn't hesitate. I would definitely try to keep building this thing, because they know the importance of kind of repeating what they did last year and making this more consistent as they go along. Just not just make it a one-off playoff appearance, and make it a consistent thing.
He's Kevin Durso, our Flyers insider from 97.3 ESPN.com at Kevin_Durso on the X platform. Don't forget the Flyers draft is next weekend. And then right after that, we launch right into free agency. And Kevin will be all over it for us here at 97.3 ESPN. Kevin, great stuff. Appreciate you jumping on today.
You got it. Thanks, Josh.
Josh Hennig here on 97.3 ESPN, hanging with Hennig, being brought to you by Caesars Sportsbook, the only sportsbook app with Caesars Rewards. What is Caesars Rewards? Well, that means every bet you place on every sport earns more perks, more ways to play, more ways to level up your experience with Caesars Sportsbook. Because every baseball game, the World Cup, the U.S. Open, all of these are opportunities for you to earn perks toward hotel stays, bonus bets, game tickets, and more. Getting started is simple. Download the app. Use my promo code RADIO, DYW, to place your first bet of $1 or more for a chance to double your winnings on your next 10 bets. 10 chances to boost your play with Caesars Sportsbook. See Caesars.com/promos for full terms. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. We'll check back on the text board one more time at 609-403-0973 and wrap up the show coming up next on 97.3 ESPN.
Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN Radio. The spotlight shines on a heated rivalry.
Juan Soto has tied this one up.
The New York Mets step into hostile territory to face Kyle Schwarber and the Philadelphia Phillies. Mets Phillies Sunday Night Baseball. Coverage begins at 6:30 Eastern.
Listen to Sunday Night Baseball, Phillies Mets on 97.3 ESPN.
The Stone Harbor Bar and Grill on 96th Street is Stone Harbor's most complete entertainment experience. Great food, fun, and libations, and newly remodeled for 2026. The same great owners and all your favorite menu items remain, and now we've taken things up a notch with a brand new bar, new sound system, 36 brand new 4K TVs, and more. No matter where you sit, you always have a perfect sight line to the big game, and you've got to try our mouth-watering new menu items. Start your meal with blackened scallops, homemade fried pickles, or a cheeseburger flatbread. Try our new Chicago-style dog or the Mary Ann sandwich, a chicken cutlet, broccoli rabe, and sharp provolone on world-famous Rando's Bakery Atlantic City bread. The Stone Harbor Bar and Grill sources only the top ingredients and serves up the best quality food. Voted best wings of Stone Harbor and the Jersey Shore by Lord of the Wings. Prime rib nights Friday and Saturdays, rib nights on Sundays, and Mike the Magician Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The newly remodeled Stone Harbor Bar and Grill on 96th Street in the heart of Stone Harbor. Open 11:30 a.m. till midnight, 7 days a week. Go to stoneharborbarandgrill.com or call 609-961-3534 for more.
For 23 years, we've helped athletes at all levels at Klemic Performance Method, from youth to pros, increase maximum velocity, acceleration, vertical leaps, and general physical preparedness. We offer youth, high school, and pro college classes. Our proven results have earned national recognition from NFL coaches, sponsors, and a feature on ESPN Radio's Sports Science segment. You can contact me directly at 609-742-6190, or as always, visit us on our website, KlemicPerformanceMethod.com.
This is the story of the one who keeps multiple buildings running smoothly day after day. Plumbing that flows, HVAC that hums, cleaning supplies that keep surfaces sparkling. That's why she counts on Grainger. With easy reordering online and 24/7 support, Grainger helps her keep the products she needs on hand, so shelves stay stocked and buildings stay ready. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Celebrate the World Cup 2026 at Soccerfest at the Camden Waterfront, June 25th through the 27th, starting at noon each day. All 3 days on huge outdoor screens. Sign up for the New Jersey Youth Soccer Association sessions held at Rutgers Camden Field. Shop at the Made in Camden Village. Enjoy the flavors of the International Food Market, South Jersey's award-winning wineries and breweries. Take Patco to the City Hall station or take the New Jersey Transit River Line. Register for free tickets in advance at soccerfest26.com.
Getting ready to hit the water? Stop by Hands 2 Bait and Tackle, located just before the Cape May Bridge. Hands 2 Bait and Tackle is your one-stop shop for fishing and crabbing. From fresh bait like clams, bunker, and minnows to rods, reels, and apparel, they've got everything you need. Not sure what's biting? The Hands 2 crew will point you in the right direction with the latest local reports and expert advice. Whether you're chasing stripers or crabbing with the family, stop in or call 609-884-BAIT, B-A-I-T.
There's a pill version of Ozempic.
Hello, I'm Ozempic.
And I'm other GLP-1s kind of like him. Hey, did I hear there's a pill version of Ozempic?
Yep, you sure did. Ask your doctor about which FDA-approved uses of the Ozempic pen or pill may be right for you. Call 1-833-OZEMPIC or visit Ozempic.com to view the medication guide and learn more about Ozempic semaglutide tablets 9 milligrams and Ozempic semaglutide injection 2 milligrams.
There's a pill version of Ozempic.
Caesars Sportsbook is the only sportsbook app with Caesars Rewards. Bet every game like a Caesar and earn perks on every bet. Hotel stays, bonus bets, game tickets, all in one app. Download the app with promo code RADIODYW and place your first bet of $1 or more for a chance to double your winnings on your next 10 bet. Open to new users in New Jersey who are 21 or older. Max bet of $25 for boosted winnings. Max additional winnings $2,500 per bet. Profit boost tokens expire 14 days after receipt. See Caesars.com/promos for full terms. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
What if you could have the most reliable fiber-powered Wi-Fi? And get this, what if you could keep it at the same price for 5 years? During the Xfinity Summer Savings Event, now through June 22nd, new customers can get our best price on gig Wi-Fi, just $50 a month for 5 years. And get online in minutes with same-day Wi-Fi. It's Wi-Fi that finds and fixes problems before you even notice them, like super intelligent Wi-Fi with a sixth sense. Plus, add one line of Xfinity Mobile Select and you can save an average of $60 a month over Verizon and AT&T. You can even try it free for a year. Lock in your price and unlock the possibilities during the Xfinity Summer Savings Event. Get it now at Xfinity.com. Xfinity. Imagine that. Restrictions apply. Requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account. Taxes and fees extra. Savings based on 1 gig internet and 1 mobile select line compared to similar Verizon and AT&T plans over 5 years. After 12 months, regular rates apply to mobile select. Xfinity internet required. Speeds vary. Use of fiber coaxial cable.
Shop the Sherwin-Williams sale and get 30% off Super Paint, Super Deck, and Woodscapes products June 12th through the 22nd. Whether you're refreshing your interior or exterior, we've got the colors to bring your vision to life. And with delivery, getting everything to your door is easier than ever. Shop online to have it delivered or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details. Delivery available on qualifying orders.
When it comes to injuries, you can't afford to get it wrong. Insurance companies, they delay, deny, and pay as little as possible. Who's on your side? The law offices of Greg A. Altman. Car accidents, slip and falls, serious workplace injuries. They build cases to put real pressure on the other side. And you pay nothing unless they win. Don't guess, don't wing it. Call 856-327-8899 or visit GregAltmanLaw.com. Local office in Vineland, backed by a Philly firm that knows how to win.
You're hanging with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN FM.
I want my picks back. I want David Putnam.
And on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
All my picks back, and I want David Putnam just because I feel like it.
You're out of your mind.
Yeah, I am. Haven't I proved that already?
Streaming live on YouTube, Instagram, and the X platform.
Josh Hennig back here on Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN. Don't forget, we will be back on the road next Saturday. Billy Schwein in the locker room, and me, Josh Hennig, Hanging with Hennig, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. We will be at Margate Beach Stock. The Planet's biggest beach party returns to Margate next Saturday, transforming between Huntington and Granville Avenue beaches into a full day of sports, entertainment, food, family activities, and beachfront fun. Of course, we will be hanging out all day with you here on 97.3 ESPN. So come on down, meet the Philly Fanatic. You can check out the Ben Gravy Pineapple Surf Classic contest, as well as other great family activities, as well as an air circus kite demonstration and lessons, sand sculpting, kids treasure hunts, and more next Saturday at Margate Beach Stock. And then the following week, we'll have a special edition of Hanging with Hennig, broadcasting live from Boulevard Super Liquors. Myself and Mike Carlin will be broadcasting live 2 to 5 p.m. on Friday, July 3rd, for a special edition of Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN from Boulevard Super Liquors on Roosevelt Boulevard at the foot of the Ocean City 34th Street Bridge. The best selection of beer and spirits, all of South Jersey, and your chance to win a Devontae Smith signed helmet, along with giveaway baskets from Solento Organic Tequila, Douglas Candies, and Boulevard Super Liquors. But you must stop by in order to have a chance to win the prizes on Friday, July 3rd, with Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN. All right, let's do a couple things before we get out of here. Might help if I change the settings on, if you're watching on YouTube next. There we go. It's a little better. A couple things to get to. I'm not going to read all the text from Steve and Ventnor, because Steve loves to send in trades, ideas, and everything, which I appreciate. We don't have a lot of time here at the end of the show here. But I will say this. I think the thing that needs to be addressed is no matter who the prospect is, right? You know, whether it is, you know, a Felix Reyes, an Otto Kemp, a Dante Nori, and Alex McFarland, all of this stuff has nothing to do with what we think of the players. What does the rest of baseball think of these guys? That's the problem. The Phillies don't have many guys who are rated by the rest of baseball at the top. They don't have many guys who are considered top prospects in Major League Baseball. So the problem with all these conversations is we can come up with all the trade scenarios, all the things we want, but the reality is that the rest of baseball does not see our prospects as valuable. So unless you can find somebody who is in love with a Nori or a McFarland or someone like that, no trade that we propose is going to have any usefulness. So I just want to say that, Steve, I appreciate all the texts, but I just kind of want to put that out there that, you know, we can talk about all the names we want, but the reality is, unless we are sure that other teams look at our guys and value them, nothing else matters. Joe chimes on the text board, says, give me your draft selection for the Sixers. I want your genie in the bottle wish versus who you wish the Sixers would have. Well, if you go over the mock drafts for the NBA draft, and I don't have a lot of time to get into this, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this, but I think that when it comes to the Sixers, they got to make a decision about balancing best player available versus what player they absolutely need. I think there's two obvious needs for the 76ers. They need athleticism and they need big man who can rebound. Now, finding both of those in one player might not be easy. I know that Billy Schweim is really in love with Henry Visar. He kind of reminds me of an Ersan Ilyasova type in terms of his ability to space the floor. He's a guy that makes a lot of sense, but I don't know exactly what his role would be with Philadelphia. I know a lot of people love Dylan Swain, the wingman from Texas. I would probably say if there was a scenario where Alan Graves fell to you, that probably would be the best case scenario. So I think that maybe a guy like a Graves. The only other guy I could think of that if I had a wish list, I mean, I personally like a lot of the guards and the wings in this draft. I'm not as high on the big men, so I kind of see where some people are coming from. So that's kind of like my take on the draft. You'll hear more about it with the Sports Bash Mike Gill this week here on 97.3 ESPN. All right, wrapping up the show before we get out of here, I do want to say today actually marks the 1-year anniversary of Hanging with Hennig. And I think it's very appropriate that it falls on the same day, same weekend as Father's Day, because much of what I'm doing today is a byproduct of my own father who really aggressively pushed me to educate myself, be learned, be intelligent, not just be a jock, not just fall into some of the tendencies of, the sports jock culture. So I just want to wish my dad and every dad out there who wants the best for their kids a happy Father's Day. Being a father is much more important than being a sperm donor. So if you're a father, we thank you this Father's Day weekend. I'm Josh Hennig, signing off for Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN.
Sunday morning in the locker room with Billy Schwein, producer Alex Berardis, and my intern Aaron Ewing joined me in the studio. The Phillies Mets